is the conspiracy all about? Is it because we're so much better looking than all these bimbos out there? But you know, it really doesn't matter, because I'll tell you why. The payback is coming, baby, and the payback is going to be hell, and it's going to be one big surprise. And I'm talking all these bitches. They all can bring it on. And I'm talking about Mantagas, Donkey Face, Candy Divine, the Ace of Space Princess Jasmine, Robin Jailbait Lane. You all can come to me, and you're all going to fall. And as far as you're concerned, Debbie Combs, you're a 2-bit 35-cent champion with a body and IQ to match it. And you might as well give it up, sweetie, and go back to the hills and sip moonshine with that Valium-addicted alcoholic mother of yours. Because Charlie Haynes and the Prince are going to take the world championship because I do everything very good, if you know what I mean.
Hello everyone, and once again, welcome to Ring into Focus, where we feature the most informed commentary on the topic of professional wrestling. I am your host, Tim. We've got a great show lined up for you, action hot and heavy. It's happening. Without further ado, I want to go ahead and bring on in my esteemed colleague. From Sydney, Australia, Blake St. Clair. What's going on, Blake?
Is all the money due? All the money is due at the end of the month. You paid up?
Roland Alexander, I thought you were dead.
I'm back. I'm back with a new promotion.
Oh, man.
All Pro Trans Wrestling.
And we've got to get into that because there's like a story there. What do you got there? Is that, which belt is that?
One of them. It's the
That's the one they used. That's the one they used. I'd say 02, I think. 03.
Yeah, it's got WWE on it, so it's early 2000 at least.
I was always underwhelmed by that one. You know, it's after they unified the Big Gold and the WWF Attitude Era belt.
I always loved the old WWF World Title from like the 90s with a little bit of blue on it, and the IC belt as well.
Yeah, the original IC belt was a classic. I don't mean the original. The original was some piece of shit. I think it had like a green strap, but the iconic 80s one. Yeah, for sure.
The oval shaped one.
Yes. Let's see who we have with us tonight. It's you, and hit the like button, everyone, please. Melissa Lord.
Smash it like it's The Rock smashing Mick Foley's skull with a chair.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, I like LA Knight's elbow more than I like the People's elbow. Have you ever seen his elbow?
No.
Oh, it's pretty cool. Sith Assassin.
Anything recently.
Oh, yeah, I mean, you know, I'll watch it on and off and stuff. Sith Assassin trailer, if I remember correctly, we had a special screening or premiere for this because Terry Funk was still alive at the... Well, he just died, like a year ago, I think?
Yeah, not too long ago.
Yeah, not too long ago. And lived down the road in the next town. I think he was there. I believe it because he was doing a lot of small stuff toward the end of his career.
Well, he only retired from Amarillo.
Yeah. Like 20 times. I remember in the newsletter, in the Observer, they would be like, you know, results and Terry Funk's latest retirement show. And it's like 2005, like 7 years after this movie.
Yeah, so it's Ric Flair's doing a pretty good impression of it himself lately.
Oh, I don't even want to get into that, but we'll have to talk about that sometime.
Yeah,
when
he actually has his last match.
Exactly. Which will probably be him resulting in a heart attack, a real one, unlike that horrible storyline they did in WCW in early 2000.
Yeah.
Or early 99, my bad. The Listening Fat, A.K.A. Darthside, saying, "Ooh, yeah. Dig it!"
Ooh, yeah.
Jag Ged'Dem. Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm the cream of the crop. It's official, Japan has surpassed America. In what regard? I don't know what you mean there. Stizo for life?
Not in basketball.
Yeah. Stizo for life in the house. Member of the channel. Saying howdy because we say howdy here. Tuscan Bob, in what category? Weirdo sex fetishes. Yeah, there's been some crazy stuff going on culturally there since the late 90s, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
I've known some people that have lived there. And is being used incorrectly. No, it isn't, because I'm an historian. You're either a historian or an historian. Right? How do you say it?
The H is silent.
How do you say it?
A historian.
An historian.
I know it doesn't apply to everything, but I always just use the rule AN if it's the next word starts with a vowel.
Well, it does start with the vowel if the H is silent. So
that's what I'm saying. Is the H
an
silent?
historian? Yes. I'm in. I can't say it. I am a wrestling historian, or I am an historian of wrestling. Either way. Alex Bates, fuck Disney Star Wars. Yeah, I agree. Knights of Melvin forever. Word up, homie. Small time
episode coming soon.
Yeah. Small time Republic member of the channel in the house. Oh man, I used to do a spot on impression of the Fink when I was a kid actually. I need to try it sometime. Just kind of like get the voice right, turn my camera on, and introduce, like recreate like a WrestleMania 3 introduction or something. By the way, I'm wearing the shirt.
What was the British dude's name?
What
Lord
British dude?
Alfred Hayes, was it?
Yeah,
No,
but he wasn't
Lord...
a ring announcer.
No.
Have you ever seen him as a heel?
Like voices that I familiarized with wrestling, and Hayes was one of them. And then, of course, like Mean Gene. I think
and Gorilla and...
Yeah. I don't really associate Gorilla's voice as much, just the name.
Really?
Because I was too young to hear a lot of Gorilla stuff.
Did you ever see...
I was even too young to hear most of Vince's stuff when he was commentating.
Did you ever see Hayes as a heel?
I think so.
Yeah, he was like a heel. Right before he went, he was still like a manager in the heel, like in Mid-Atlantic. It's crazy to see him as one, because he was always just this kind of like beta, like English guy that they would kind of bully around on all the shows, and
So like Michael Cole.
Exactly. And he used to do the things at the end. Promotional consideration paid for by the following G.I. Joe figures. And it's like...
Yeah, I used to love those ads. And I used to, because we didn't get a lot of the stuff here. Like, you'd hear like the promoting the call-in line and the magazine and all the toys and stuff. But
yeah,
we didn't get a lot of it here. So all I got were the ads, and the ads were great. I'll never think there's one ad, there's this action figure ad from like the early 90s.
It was the G.I. Joe ones, right?
Well, it was like the
actual wrestling.
The wrestling action figures, and it was like they had British Bulldog, Undertaker, Bushwhackers. It was that sort of era. But I just loved because they had the wrestlers sort of introduce each action figure.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah, it's like the bite of the Bulldog, and then the Undertaker will bury them stiffs. It was just, I loved it. No connotation there.
And if you're, you switch over to like the WCW side and you're Missy Hyatt, then you'll bury the stiffies. So, let's see. I think that's everyone. But yeah, share the stream out there, guys.
Yeah. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for being here. We're not going to do the spacing, and I felt like going live is kind of an escape, because it's been a pretty rough week again at work, and just lots of bad stuff going on. More layoffs, and had to call all my friends this past weekend in my old apartment, make sure they're still around. So, it's good to get into these and talk about fun stuff and have some fun with without further ado, though, and speaking of which, let's go ahead and get into what we're going to get into. And let's look at tonight's card. We're talking about Beyond the Mat. That's the agenda. And there it is. Oh, my copy is somewhere. I watched it on YouTube so that I could watch it out in the hot tub the other night, and I finished it up right here on my phone when I was finishing up with the stream stuff. Nice. But yeah, I do have the DVD, have had it since it came out. So it's one of those old school DVDs, you know. You can just tell it's one of the older cases and DVDs. But we are going to do a new segment tonight. Whenever we do Ring into Focus, we'll get that done and go through this movie. We're going to kind of like EFAP it, but not play anything. I couldn't find any screen caps, so we'll just go to that YouTube video and skip around. So much backstage information and lore to talk about here.
I got a screen cap for my avatar.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, these guys, you know, they're getting paid and they're loving it. You know, $20, you know, for almost breaking their neck. And I'm one of the best payout guys in the industry.
It either cuts with that Tony guy going like, I've gone whole shows without getting paid. He says, if the show isn't good, did you feel like you deserve to get paid?
Yeah.
Like, Jesus.
But, he tells you that he only pays you if he thinks that you earned it or something like that. Oh man, we'll get into that. But that's what we're talking about. A lot of those
sort of slimy dudes in the independent scene.
Right.
I know your friends talked about it on here before from Four Corners.
Oh yeah.
Shad, wasn't it?
Yeah. He did some, you know, some Kentucky and that area stuff, and I've seen some of his stuff on YouTube, and the announcers on there crack me up because they've got really strong accents and stuff.
Yeah.
Let's see. Nothing could beat Gorilla and Heenan's. Yeah, watching Primetime, like...
Oh, Heenan was the great one.
Watching Primetime, dude, those two interacting is some of the greatest shit ever.
I've gone back and watched a lot of it, but I wasn't there to see it, like, as it was happening.
Well, even when... So, the first season, part of the first season, Jesse was there instead of Bobby.
Ventura.
And that chemistry was good, too. And then Bobby took over halfway through 86. And it was excellent.
Yeah. Jesse's in here a lot.
Yeah, he is. And I didn't get to...
behind the scenes as well.
I didn't get to see that dinner thing that they did. Like several years later, I think they filmed it.
It looked like Mick was sort of just after his run as commissioner, and sort of had ended in WWE. Then
I need to find it and watch it, but haven't seen it yet. And that's probably what they based like Table for Three on. It's a
and Dinner for Five.
Yeah, it's a what do you call it? A network, WWE network show.
Yeah.
So, Jordan Francis is here. Hope everyone's doing terrific. May the force be with you. Yeah, the force of the side headlock.
Force of the 36-inch pythons.
Yeah. Forget Hogan's 24. It's like, I got 36-inch pythons. What did you think of
I think Hogan's arms grew bigger and bigger in his mind each year.
I watched a bunch of YouTube videos earlier trying to find like a great clip. And we'll talk about that clip at the beginning. But there was one where he was so high on coke probably. His eyes were like this big. And there was that one guy that used to do the interviews in front of like the blue background instead of Gene, like a blonde-headed guy. And this guy was like looking at the camera like, holy shit, because some of the stuff Hulk was saying didn't even make sense. It was like, what? It was weird. But yeah, that whole montage was great. They had some Scott Steiner in it about the angle of the world and all that stuff.
That's a great YouTube rabbit hole to go down, is the lies of Hulk Hogan over the years.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like, you know, Andre let me beat him, and then He died shortly after. It was like 6 years later he died.
He's like, yeah. He's like, I was the first one to ever slam Andre, and then there's all these clips of like Big John Studd and all these other people doing it like 6 months before.
Yeah, and he'll be like on David Letterman, and they just believe him. It's like,
yeah,
holy smokes. No, but that guy at the beginning. So in the mid '80s, like wrestling was hot, right? I don't know if you've ever heard of like Glow, the gorgeous ladies of wrestling.
Yeah, I watched it on Netflix.
Oh yeah, they had like a, what do you want to call it? Not a documentary, but
like a drama-based mockumentary sort of thing. But it was it was done as a drama.
Wrestling was all over television in the United States. Like I had a schedule, like in 6th grade, 5th grade, whatever. Almost every damn night of the week, there was a promotion on some channel. That's how I got exposed to all the different federations, whatever you wanted to call them. So what these people did, they wanted to make like a little more risque one, so they only released it on VHS. So it was women's wrestling. It was WCW. It was Women's Championship Wrestling. You know, it wasn't the real WCW. Yeah. So that guy was like, whatever he was, the Prince. And he's got some other ones out there that are even worse. Just fantastic, man. Like, if you can get a hold of those tapes or find them on YouTube, it's a lot of fun stuff. But yeah, I don't think it lasted long. They probably released like 5 to 10 tapes, and then, you know, it wasn't profitable. So
yeah,
it was almost like
sued by WCW, the real one.
Exactly. It was almost like direct to video streaming type stuff where, hey, we know we can't get on TV, so we'll film the shit. We're having a wrestling show anyway, and then we'll just put it out there on video.
It's like mail order public access TV.
Yeah. This is a good comment. Start watching NFL again if Heenan and Monsoon did it. Yeah, you'd have to bring them back to life, though, both of them. So.
I think I'd watch any sport if Bob Uecker was commentating it.
Yeah.
If you don't know out there, Bob Uecker from the movie Major League.
Yeah, and a baseball player.
Yeah, and real life commentator, yeah.
And Mr. Belvedere. And he was actually at WrestleMania 3. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Got choked by the Giant.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, he actually was the ring announcer for the main event. So I hated when they did that. It's like, you got to let the Fink do it.
Oh, yeah. For that early days, there was a lot of that. Just get the celebrities in there, and the wrestlers I don't think were too, or not even just the wrestlers, like the people who were the day-to-day people that were doing all this weren't too happy that they were on the biggest night getting their spotlight stolen away from them.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
I know. I think it was Piper talked about it, hating Mr. T, like saying this guy does not deserve to be here.
Yeah, and don't forget in that boxing match they had at WrestleMania 2, he actually kicked his ass.
Yeah.
I mean,
Mr. T is pretty small, like in comparison to a lot of those guys, even the smaller ones.
And from what I've heard, he's kind of a bitch. So, you know.
Yeah, I think it's that era, a lot of chemically enhanced physiques.
Yeah.
Like I've seen training footage of Hogan. Hogan looked a lot different before he started introducing chemicals into his workout routine.
Oh, yeah. You look at him in AWA in the early 80s. Or even when he was in training. WWF before the big run. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I love how he goes, like, they picked me to be a wrestler and go and train because I was a bodybuilder and they saw my physique. And then you see him in the training videos and you're going, how is this guy a bodybuilder?
Yeah. All right. Before we get into the movie, talking about the movie, let's hit the segment here. All right, so, you know, watching wrestling, you could not only learn stuff, because there were some smart people in wrestling, you could also learn by not doing something or looking into it and going, hey, that's not actually right. So guess what I learned when I was a kid? I learned that Rule Britannia was not the national anthem of England. I thought it was until, you know, probably I was 13, and then it's like, oh, it's it's God Save the Queen. I guess King now, right? But yeah, I
Very
thought
well
Rule
rendered, yeah.
Britannia was the national anthem of England. So you learn something, right?
The Bushwhackers theme isn't the Australian anthem either, by the way.
Dee, 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 dee. Yeah, those guys hated that, I think, that gimmick because they were heels and they were the sheep herders when they were in NWA and they were, you know, not licking each other's heads and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
And then something
that's such a good team.
Yeah.
The British Bulldogs.
Oh yeah, like Dynamite Kid.
Yeah.
You ever watch his single stuff from Japan?
Oh, Dynamite was unreal. Like the sad ending to his career and his life and everything.
Yep.
But at his peak, Dynamite was amazing to watch. And same with British Bulldog, Davy Boy.
Yep.
He was one of my favorites growing up, Davy Boy. When he won that match against, was it
Wembley,
Brett, or was it Sean?
It was Brett at Wembley Stadium.
Yeah.
In London. Yep.
And then he had another one against Sean, like not too long later, I think in America, or maybe it might have been in England again, but I think it was in America. And Sherry like cost him the win. I think it was for the title, but that was Bulldog. He was definitely one of my favorites as a kid.
Yeah, he was good in the ring too for being like a big buff guy. He was definitely on the juice.
Huge. Oh, definitely. Like he had muscles on muscles. Just like his back was like it was just just all bumps.
Yeah. So something positive I learned was anatomy too. And this, you know, every time we do this, there could be another one, but I learned what the lower lumbar region is whenever Gorilla's commentating, like, shot to that lower lumbar region. It's like, what the hell is that? You know, there's no Google in 1987. So it's like, go to the encyclopedia, like, what's lumbar? You know, so your vocabulary would definitely expand listening to Gorilla Monsoon. So yeah, I tell my wife this, like, I learned a lot from Star Wars and pro wrestling. And Star
I learned
Trek
a lot about America from
else.
pro wrestling. That's like all my pretty much all my knowledge from America is movies, pro wrestling, and Simpsons. Like that's all you need to know. And I've got a pretty good understanding, I think.
Wow. What is Jack saying here? Career cut short because of a damn trapdoor in the middle of the ring. Whose career?
Dynamite.
I think I remember seeing that on one of the Vice.
Yeah, it took a bad bump on his back and
Dark Side of the Ring.
The same again.
Mm-hmm. Well, plus
sorry, go on.
He admitted it. He and Benoit doing those flying headbutts, like, you know, night after night, and that's like you're on the top rope and you just fall like a tree, right? Mm-hmm. That concussion.
That's a huge front bump. Mm-hmm. And all that torque's going onto your neck and your head.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but look, that explains a lot. Like, well, think about it. How much American geography did I learn from watching wrestling growing up? All the different cities they were touring to.
Right.
I learned like all these weird random cities in the South and all these other ones across the country. And I'm like going, so that's in that state. That's in that state. That's in that state. Geography helps. Trust me.
Do you know the only WWF pay-per-view to take place in the state of Alabama?
No.
It was what is the one they always used to do in December? Armageddon 2000, I think it was. Yeah, I think it was Armageddon 2000. That's the one where...
Or was it Vengeance? No, Vengeance.
Here, let's look this up.
I think Vengeance. I always remember Vengeance being at the end of the year.
No, Armageddon was always in December. Armageddon 2000 WWF.
Well, they kept changing the names as well all the time. Really, you only need to remember the three major ones for me.
This is the one that had Kurt Angle. It was like a 6-pack match. Kurt Angle, Rock, Rikishi, Stone Cold, Triple H, and Undertaker. Hell in a Cell. It was a 6-man Hell in a Cell. But yeah, the only pay-per-view in state of Alabama. Just trivia there.
All you need to remember is the three big ones: the Rumble, WrestleMania, and SummerSlam. Although I was a big fan of Survivor Series as well growing up.
Well, Survivor Series, what they do now, they do War Games now.
I've seen some of that. Yeah, I wasn't a fan. I've seen like some of the War Games were good in the old WCW days, but when they started going way over the top with it, was kind of stupid.
Yeah, they first started doing it in NXT, and then they moved it over to WWF, actual WWE, whatever.
I used to love the Survivor Series teams. That was great.
Oh, yeah, that first year, 87, the tag team one, it was 5 tag teams each side, so you had like 20 guys.
Yeah.
Like on the apron. I'm surprised that ring didn't collapse.
Yeah,
it's
I know.
Crazy. So again, have it on YouTube, probably the easiest way. And I like how, just to jump into this, I like how he starts out. It's himself, the director, Barry Blaustein, watching wrestling, and he's saying something like, "I don't know why I like it, I just do." And it's almost like that's a great way to explain it. Like, can you even tell yourself, like, I'll get my wife's family coming over, and they're like, "Man, what are you watching?" and stuff. And Jerry Lewis used to say something. And Jeff Jarrett, you know who Jeff Jarrett is? The
chosen one.
Kind of appropriated, the chosen one. He appropriated this saying from Jerry Lewis and applied it to pro wrestling. This is like in one of all those documentaries they did, like on all the networks in the United States in the late 90s during the hot era. And it was, for those who understand, no explanation is needed. For those who don't understand, no explanation will do. So it's just like, I don't know. I think certain people are wired where you want to watch something where drama is created and the good guys, not necessarily the good guys, but the protagonist prevails.
Yeah, in a part it's wish fulfillment. Like,
yes,
the fantasies playing out. And especially back then, like the theatricality of it all, the colors, the costumes, like it was all packaged together perfectly.
Yeah.
And you either love it or you hate it, and as a kid you just sort of got hooked.
Yep.
But yeah, I love this intro where he's going in and describing his growing up love for it, and then you get the couple of spots with RVD, and you get Paul Bearer and a couple other cool people that like were, Paul Bearer, like, he was not really overlooked, but he was such a big influence in that era.
Oh, big time. And in real life, like, amazing guy.
Percy Pringle.
Yep. Yeah, watch. They have an actual, official bio thing on him that they came out with a couple of years ago after he passed away. He was, military veteran and all that stuff. So this is the intro. And you know what? Before we get too far into it, though, here's the story about when this first came out. So this is a 1999 movie. So next, whatever it is, October, it'll be the 25th anniversary. But it really didn't start getting distribution until early 99. And there was a theater about an hour and a half from here that had it, and it was in a bad part of town in that city. So I went anyway, right? And I went alone because I just moved here and no one else wanted to go. So I get there, and it was a packed house, and obviously it was all wrestling fans. It was like the first weekend in that city, not the first day, but the first weekend. that it opened up. So packed house. So you're getting pops and all kinds of stuff when, the stars would show up on the screen, and you're getting laughs at the funny parts. And so it was a great atmosphere to watch it. But I'm like, man, I couldn't hear some of this shit. So I went back and watched it again, a few weeks later when it was an empty house. Got it on DVD as soon as it came out. So that's kind of my story. You probably didn't see this until later, right?
Oh yeah, I saw this on TV. We got a channel here, SBS. It does a lot of foreign movies and sort of documentary-based movies as well. And this was one of those ones where it came out, and I was watching. I think Wrestling with Shadows. It might have been like a double feature one night. They did both of them, and I can remember watching this and sort of going, "How the fuck did Vince let this get out?"
Well, I'm going to get into that. Thank you. Good segue, because we skip ahead, and he says something like, hey, I'm going to start at the top. Yeah. I hate the way this skips around. Trying to get it on that fucking W. I don't think it's possible unless I play it. So he must have been there right around the time they were going to switch to the Scratch logo. Because don't forget, like, Attitude Era started before they went to the Scratch logo. Right? So he gets there, and then they're walking around the halls and all this. It's kind of cool. And then they go into Vince's office or whatever, and Vince has that line where he's drinking out of the water bottle, and he's like, here it is. He's eating like peanuts.
Yeah, you see Test in the way-in. I think Test.
Yeah, you see Test. Yeah, Andrew Martin. Yep.
Yeah.
This right here, it's hilarious, and he's like, we want to show people what we're really about. We make movies. And what he meant by that...
I know.
Yeah, what he meant by that was, like, it's not just, hey, we got one camera and we're filming wrestling. It's like all the shit they do backstage. It really is like filmmaking, and they go into it. So here he is. He obviously interviewed him, but this is really the only footage they use one-on-one. And then you look at Wrestling with Shadows that you just mentioned, the Bret Hart thing. And you have this unprecedented access, right, to backstage. Well, I believe in both cases, from what I remember reading, Meltzer and others said that, Vince is like, no, I changed my mind, you can't have all that, but too late. Yeah. It was already, it was already done. So I don't know what. Yeah, I don't know if he thought that it would be good publicity or what.
I think with this line, this was Vince trying to launch his play into Hollywood, because he has this this is produced by Brian Grazer and Ron Howard. I don't know if Vince knew that at the time or if they were attached afterwards. But I think Vince was using this as sort of like his, because not long after this, remember, the WWE did start their film division. I think this was Vince's sort of trying to get his foot in the door with certain people to say, like, Hollywood, I can do this too. You want to come and see what we do here? Then show a little bit behind the scenes, all the production work and all the everything that goes into it, all the live production work as well. And I think Vince was really sort of thinking, I'm going to be looking like a hero after this. I don't think he was expecting the whole Foley getting 30 chair shots at the end of it to sort of start the Vince's using and discarding a lot of these people. I mean, because this is years after the steroid trial as well. Vince
many years, yeah.
Yeah. Vince was still sort of had that image that he was, not as upfront as everyone sort of thought he was. And of course, he was heel Vince at the time.
Yeah. Speaking of movies, do you know if that Kane horror movie was profitable?
I have no idea. I haven't even seen it. I See No Evil. Was it See No Evil?
I don't like horror. Yeah, See No Evil, I think. Yeah. I'm just curious because that's like the most popular one.
Yeah, probably that. And I haven't seen. I don't think I've seen any of them.
The Marine, is that theirs?
Yeah, the Marine's one of them, and then there was the one with Stone Cold where he was like a prisoner or something, and he had to escape and kill a bunch of people.
Yeah.
But then I think they also I think Vince moved into a lot of like trying to finance films as well. I think he partly financed that Longest Yard remake with Adam Sandler.
Yeah, I think you're right.
That's why there's a lot of wrestlers in it as well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think
you're
Vince
right.
was trying to use this as his gateway into Hollywood.
Yep. We make
but
movies,
then he realized
Jack
how much
says.
was going to get revealed, and he was like, "Oh shit."
Yeah. They were okay, but they lost him. Okay, I believe you. I mean, I'm not going to doubt that because they weren't
None of
stellar
them were
movies.
good, I don't
You could
think.
tell
No, yeah.
by looking at them.
Yeah, none of them. They all just look like straight to DVD fodder, and even at that, they were like the low end. They're like sort of like the Steven Seagal movies they make nowadays.
Yeah. But as soon as he says that, they jump into this, hey, here's Dude Love, and they're filming like a setup, and then you kind of skip further. Yeah, exactly. And then you kind of skip ahead, and then here's Russo talking to Sable. And man, at that point, she was gorgeous, but she's married to Brock Lesnar now, and isn't she like 10 years his senior?
Probably at least 10 years, wouldn't it?
At
be?
least
like
10.
She was around for a lot of the 90s.
Yeah. That's Vince Russo there, who would eventually jump to WCW and without any kind of filter, and big difference in the writing that he did in WWF. Here's what I like. He says, "Oh, they even have there's old JR.
Looks a lot different there.
Yeah,
a lot of years and a lot of stress later."
That's Jim Johnson, one of the greatest composers of all time. I don't care what anyone says. Like, his wrestling themes are freaking inspired, and they're amazing.
Probably one of the most unheralded. I mean,
yeah,
the amount of people that have heard and recognized his music so easily. Like, when you hear it, you instantly know what it is. He's a master.
I got to say something to him on social media a long time ago, and I'm like, I wasn't saying it to him, I said it about him, and then he found it and was like, wow, thanks for the great comments. And it was like, it's so amazing, because in 87, did I think there'd be this thing called the internet, where 30 years later I could say, hey, I like your work, and they randomly find it and say thanks. But any interview I've seen, like he's talking here about Vader's, you could tell there was more footage, but that's what they used. But they have some stuff on the network where he goes into a lot of themes and how he thought of them. And it's like, he put a lot of thought. And then he started making like just music. And there's some pretty cool like stuff that could easily go into like a B movie or something. Yeah. That's pretty inspiring. So
yeah, I was going to say, like, there's some of the old documentary DVDs that like WWE did, sort of like 2005 to sort of 2010 era. A lot of those documentaries, whoever who's it about, like I think one of them's the Bret Hart one. This guy goes into how the process of creating the songs, and you think like it's just a weird tune he comes up with, but Bret Hart's one was called Heart Attack, and he goes into how he makes these, like I want like the EKG beat like throughout it, and he like the amount of thought he puts into just like a little wrestling theme was pretty phenomenal.
Yep. When they got rid of him and brought on those stupid CFO guys, I wasn't even watching at the time, but I heard about it and I'm like, what a dumb decision.
Yeah.
Here you got JR. You remember the line here?
No.
I could care less who wins. I could care less who loses. As long as there's an ass every 10 inches, I'm a happy camper.
Yeah. He has such strange phrases, JR.
Oh man, trust me, like where he's from, there's a lot of strange phrases. So
the old pseudo.
Yeah. So he was the VP of talent and on-air personality, obviously. I think he was the VP of talent well into like 2002, I think they kind of relieved him of his duties. So then they had a falling out. He came back. I think they had another falling out. He came back, and then I think he's gone for good now because they've burned a lot of bridges. So
Yeah, and he's one of those ones that's doing their own thing now with the podcasts and that sort of thing.
yeah,
Which a lot of them have nowadays. Like, throw a stick and pretty much every wrestler's got a current podcast.
yeah. And
there's some
I
guy
hate.
called Conrad trying to sell you stuff throughout it.
Oh man, I'm not going into that either. You know who he is, right?
No, I only know him from those things.
He is married to Ric Flair's daughter. Not the one, but the other one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's why he has all the
I was
access.
going to say, I don't really see that pairing.
That's why. By the way, what about the color on Vince's office there? It's kind of like me, huh? In the back, so the black and red.
Vince is a Sith.
Yeah.
It's all part of the plan. Vince wants you to be fearing the Empire as soon as you walk through the door.
I've seen the memes too, of Vince as a Sith Lord. Yeah, it does suck so bad now.
Yeah.
So here's the scene with Draws. This scene was hilarious. The whole theater in 90 or 2000 when I was there was like laughing their ass off. Where he's gonna puke.
I remember now, all week leading up to when I saw this on TV on SBS, they were playing the promos, the trailer for this, and it was the start of the trailers like Vince.
Look at his
there with
face.
the bucket going, he's gonna puke. And that's how and I'm just going, fuck, I gotta see this. I have to see this. But yeah, that's Vince. And another great YouTube rabbit hole is to go into is the Vince McMahon stories by Jim Cornette. It's like an omnibus. It's like 7 hours. I think the first one. I think there's more than one. It's like 7 hours long of just Vince stories and how crazy he is like backstage. Mm-hmm. And this is one of those ones where you see this and you believe all those other Cornette stories.
Oh yeah, and they all have stories. Like if you've never seen Broken Skull Sessions,
yeah,
which they need to bring back because they haven't done an episode
great.
in a year.
His podcast was one of the best out of all of them.
Well, Undertaker told a story where they were somewhere, I think in the mid 2000s, and it was him and Vince is like, they had just gone to like the lounge in the hotel and they were drunk, and Vince is like, you want to go work out? And Undertaker's like, nah, I'm going to bed. So Vince works out. It's 5 a.m. and Undertaker wakes up because they got to catch flight, and Vince was just finishing up his workout. And he's like going back to the room to take a shower and change, and he called him a pussy or something like that. It's like that. I'm telling you, man, cocaine and just adrenaline that's what guys like him run on. I mean,
fuel. That's what it is.
Fuel.
When you hear one of the stories is like how Vince eats, like he just inhales the food, and then they go, just slow down, enjoy, Vince. He goes, it's food, it's fuel.
Well, yeah, my wife says that, and I say, well, it's caveman instinct. I'm going to eat it before another human gets it. You gotta eat it.
It's sitting there like eating like $50 steaks and stuff, and Vince is just like inhaling it. Yeah, highly recommend.
Yeah, and then this scene right here. You're going to be real proud of me, Mama. I'm now known as Puke.
Yeah, and they go into, is he like a football player or something before that?
Yeah, Darren Drozdov.
Yeah.
And you know what happened to him, right?
Yeah, they mention it at the end, like, because this was only like 6 weeks or something before it, wasn't it?
Well, they mention it, but, they don't know how bad it was.
Yeah, at the time, yeah.
Yeah. He was quadriplegic, right? And, Dark Side of the Ring, his episode on that was pretty messed up.
They're all, I mean, this is bad, like when you see the behind the scenes of the wrestlers' lives, but Dark Side of the Ring is like horror stories.
And we're going to get into a specific example later on when we hit a certain frame on here, but yeah, there was no chance. Like, I don't know how they even didn't know at that point that he wouldn't be able to rehab from that.
Yeah, I think the message at the end of this was he hopes to walk again.
Yeah. And what's great about it, though, is he never held a grudge against, what's his name?
D'Lo
Brown. Yeah. Yeah, and he died. Tyler, you're correct. Welcome to the house, Tyler. He's gonna puke. Yeah, so he passed away about, what, a year ago? Year and a half? Something like that. So
I think, yeah.
Bad deal.
It's not an easy life.
Yeah. Then guess what? They get into our boy, APW, All Pro Wrestling in Hayward, California. And this guy, let's find where he's like talking to the camera here.
Yeah, I tried to find a good shot where he's had a close up so I could just get all that glory of the roundness of the head.
Well, first let's get into this. So
yeah,
this was freaking hilarious. So he's sitting in his nasty office here, and these guys are, these guys want to, go to the school, and then he brings them into the office and sits them down, and he's like, hey, you're not going to make a lot of money, and are you aware of eating the right kinds of foods, not going to the Jack in the Boxes? And so the guy on the right, as soon as he says that, let me see if I can get the frame right here. I don't know if I can hit it exactly right.
It's just here when he gets this bit.
Anyway, you got to get to it, and he says, you know how to avoid the Jack in the Boxes? And the guy's like, and he looks at the other guy like, who's this fat ass telling us this? Yeah. But look at this get up here, man. He's got the Italian fro, hat on backward. He's got the Mario mustache. He's got
fat. It's the fat Mario.
The aviator, what do you call that? Transition lenses. The gold rings.
Yeah, I mean. or he's like a low rent Ron Jeremy, or an even more low rent Ron Jeremy.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to see that. I wouldn't want to see Ron Jeremy either. But still, dude, I have got to find that fucking frame.
He's the accountant. They said at the start he's an accountant. Like he's running this wrestling school.
Well, there you go. That makes sense. I'm muting this shit.
Yeah. That would be a good one, Tyler. Have you guys considered about reviewing Hitman Wrestling with Shadows?
Probably, because again, these two documentaries were unprecedented access into the backstage area, and you didn't really get that back then.
No.
They're going to show it in a minute.
Yeah, this was such a look behind the curtain. Like, I don't think there was anything close to this beforehand. Like, the wrestlers would do those like interviews on talk shows and stuff, and sometimes they'd, go out of character.
There it is.
Yeah. He's like,
how to avoid the Jack in the Boxes.
Yeah.
And he's so fat, like the way he talks, he has like that nasal, like, yeah, I'm one of the best payout guys in the independent scene. And then I love.
Are you for real?
I love the footage though of these matches they're having, and here's where he's telling them to make sure they pay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be out of town tomorrow. You better pay me tonight. Let's see, where's the round greatness? Oh man.
I mean, George Lucas is looking at that and just going, shit.
For all we know, George is like a closet wrestling fan. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And then there's this Mike Modest guy. He would wind up signing with WCW like 2 months before they got sold to WWE, WWF. Yeah.
I was going to say he sort of looked like a bit like Crash Holly.
Yeah. Except buffer.
Yeah. That was the other thing I was going to say. This and Wrestling with Shadows. I know it was the 90s and like sort of the late 90s, but this shines a spotlight on how bad wrestlers' fashion is behind the scenes. Like their street clothes and everything, they look like fucking morons half the time, like derelict homeless people.
I remember there was a book where this executive from WWF that had left, wrote about some experiences when they were scouting locations for one of the WrestleManias between 5 and 10. I don't remember. It was this guy, Vince, and Hogan checking out a venue. And it's like, yeah, we showed up and Hogan got out of the car and he had on like red spandex pants, cowboy boots, and like a torn up t-shirt and bandana. And then he put in parentheses, yes, he really dresses that way like in everyday clothes. And I'm like, yeah. That's horrible.
Sometimes the character goes too far.
Yeah. So this is that Tony Jones guy. This is where he's talking about the payout and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, from what Roland Alexander said, and here's where he's responding to it about you had to be a dick or the wrestlers will walk all over you. He claims in an interview sometime after the movie came out, because I remember reading this on the dirt sheets and on the websites, that the full footage was him saying there's a thought from promoters that blah, 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 what he just said, about you have to be a dick. And the way Blaustein edited made it sound like he was saying that. I don't have all the footage, so I can't verify that.
Yeah.
But he said that for a reason. And I could see, Blaustein trying to make this like a really edgy documentary and all that stuff. For all we know, he's telling the truth here. But honestly, that Jones guy kind of sucked, so maybe he didn't deserve to get paid a few times.
I love how JR just straight up says to him, like, you need to wear something more flattering.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's like, no, he's not wear something. He said to, like, work his pectorals or whatever.
No, yeah, but before that, he goes, find yourself something more flattering, because he's talking about the singlet, and he's like going, you need something to, like, accentuate what's happening here.
And by the way, this Tony Jones guy, I remember seeing him in results. Because like WrestlingObserver.com, now it's F4WWrestling.com, they would post results from every event everywhere. Because someone would send it in. And he was still trying to get, into a promotion like as far into the 2000s as 05. It's like,
still
dude.
working for Visa?
Yeah, exactly. Give it up. Give it up.
Fuck! I love their tryout, but like, he does that botched move where he like nearly drops Mike on his head or whatever, and then the one they all like go all wow about, Mike looks like he nearly drops Tony straight on his fucking head as well.
Yeah,
like the back cradle one, and then he just drops down.
Yeah, and then that move wound up being used by what's the Irish guy's name? Sheamus wound up using that move.
He stole it from this.
Yeah. I think someone else did too in the interim.
I think
this, I love this right here, where that guy apparently fan spat on this guy, and then he tries to throw him over the freaking balcony. He's like, you're going to go over. And then right here's like, I'm calling you out, motherfucker. 5 minutes outside.
I mean, I get where he's coming from, but I mean, if you're the heel, that's the reaction you want. That's the reaction you're going for. Mm-hmm. And I mean, they talk about it in the documentary, the commentary for it with Terry Funk and the director.
Gotcha.
That, like they go, like, what's the worst that's happened to you? And Terry's like, I've got a knife stuck in my neck, and I thought it was someone threw a dart at me. I was walking down the thing as I was walking back to the back. And when he got into the back part behind the curtain, he looked in the mirror and he had a knife sticking out of his neck to the hilt. Like, so he's like, oh shit. But I mean, that's like real, like, crowd reaction. And he goes, when we were in one part of Texas, we had to confiscate guns, like, in the crowd. And he goes, we had up like 30, 40 guns we had to take off people.
It's like going around the office and getting all of Dwight's weapons and stuff.
Yeah. Looking behind the photocopier.
Yeah. So that I just love watching these independent footage because it's so like cheesy and like different than the high production value stuff.
It's like
Yeah,
a
here's
more fucking budget version of ECW.
here's an example.
Look
So
at
he's
him.
got his windbreakers on and a his t-shirt tucked in.
Well, look, they all do. I love it. Like all the wrestlers, they all used to do it. They all tuck their shirts into their fucking pants. It's like, what the fuck are you guys doing? And of course, they've all got the bum bag, except for Roland. He's just struggling with his waistline of there.
Yeah, I remember like Kevin Nash would come out for like an interview in the ring, and he'd have on like Tommy jeans and a shirt like Mike Modest has on here, like tucked in, and it's like 2 sizes too small. And
yeah, I know. It's like, what the fuck are you guys wearing?
Wrestler gear.
Yeah, unless it's like designed for them, the outfits, like their costume they wear to the ring, they just have no clue what to wear.
There's Corny talking to Tony and Mike.
You don't see enough of Corny in these old things. I like seeing him every now and then.
Dude, he like it's only recently did he start to age because I was watching him on television in 84, 85, and he looks the same as he did right here in 98, 99.
Yeah, now he just looks heavier and like a bit less hair, but he looked at the identical. Like he was like you take him out of like 88 and transport him into like early 2000s, and he was just the same person.
Yep. Man, he used to get so much heat in NWA in the 80s because he would say bad stuff about like Baby Doll and whatever else. It was great. So he's coaching them up here. And what I do like is when they're backstage right here. And he's talking about, you could tell by the look on his face that he really wasn't prepared for how sophisticated the whole production would be.
Yeah.
You know, he's like, I don't know if I'll ever get here. And it's like, are you actually thinking you could even get close to this? Like, no.
Just a few small steps. I love, but you see some of these shots, The Rock manages to find the camera no matter where it is. The Rock finds the camera. It's almost
what I
he,
like?
Wanted to film. It's like he always wanted to move to Hollywood.
Yeah. You know what I like about a lot of this footage, and we'll come to the specific scenes later, but when they talk, you get to hear what they really sound like. Like The Rock, he was raised in like Tennessee, right?
He kind of sounds like Elvis in these backstage.
Yeah, because he was raised in Tennessee, right? So he has a pretty strong Southern accent. But in his interviews and stuff, he just inflects his voice differently.
Yeah.
Yeah, because his father is Canadian, right? A black guy. Rocky,
he grew up all over the place. I think
he did, but he was born in Canada.
New Zealand. Yeah, and New Zealand and moved around.
But he was primarily raised in Tennessee before he went to like, Miami University and all that stuff. So in this documentary, when it's backstage, he has a pretty strong Southern accent. But yeah, he's right there. I don't know who.
Yeah, he finds it. Look, he knows. He's like, everywhere the camera is, and he looks at it. He's like, "Yep, you see me? I'm here."
Yeah. What were these guys called? The
oddities, weren't they?
The oddities. I was going to say the misfits, but the oddities.
That's
a strange Luna group. And what was his name?
He wasn't the Kurgan, was he? No.
Kurgan, yeah. He's the giant. And
Kurgan.
When he was in the what was that paramilitary group called? The Truth Commission or something like that.
I don't know.
He had some goofy name. Yeah, it was horrible. It only lasted like 6 months, and it was led by Cyrus, who's an all-time great in wrestling. What's his name? Don Callis is his real name.
Oh, okay.
Great commentator, great manager. Never really went too far in wrestling because he was injury prone. And something else they comment on. The ring is a lot bigger than they're used to, and everyone says that. Like,
Well, you see how many people they had in that tiny ring in that garage, like, but they were training and stuff.
yeah,
Like, you couldn't move in that little thing.
yeah. But even compared to WCW,
Yeah,
the
big one.
WWF ring was bigger. Yeah,
And they
I
also,
remember
the
wrestlers
ropes,
saying
yeah.
that.
They also, the ropes are loose, so you got to run it differently, and sometimes the mat doesn't have as much give in it. Sometimes not as much spring as WCW had, and all that sort of shit. But you wonder
Yeah.
why. I mean, like, just put a little bit of padding under there, but then they all go.
Hey, John.
You got to hear that slap.
Yeah. And what's funny is I was watching early 80s, 81 WWF. All-Star was their flagship show. Wasn't very good, but there's an example of if you don't know how to run the ropes, what'll happen. You can't just you can't hit the ropes unless you're really tall and just bounce off. That's his arm like it is right there. You have to like use your arm. Well, this guy,
brace and lean.
exactly.
And then you get that spring back up.
Yep. This guy, I think he was wrestling Jesse when Jesse was still wrestling. And he Irish whipped him into the ropes. And it was this little either Hispanic or Italian guy. And he was shorter than the top rope. And he went right through it. And it wasn't planned. It wasn't planned. His arm wasn't like high enough to like grab onto the top rope. And he went right through it out onto the apron or out onto the floor. And it was like, oh shit, is he okay? And Vince is on commentary and he's like, he said some kind of comment, and he was really good on play-by-play because he would make some, because you could tell he was the boss then, and he would be like saying something, backstage he's gonna like go after that guy for fucking up or whatever.
Yeah.
So, well,
Vince on
we'll have to
commentary
talk
was
about
great.
that one later,
Yeah.
Yeah, that was when Pat Patterson was on color commentary, and he could barely speak English.
The lisp.
Yeah, and then he doesn't do plurals and stuff. Like, there are a lot of good wrestler out there, and stuff.
There's some great stories in the Vince Omnibus of like Patterson and Briscoe as well, and the shit they used to get up to with Vince.
Oh yeah,
They just sound like fucking madmen, those three. Like the shit that they would like. There was one of them, like they were out at a bar somewhere, and Vince. There was heaps of wrestlers there as well, and Vince asked, goes, all of the tag teams. He goes, I want to do all of you do your finishing moves on me. And you remember like the Hart Foundations one? What was it called? The Neidhart and Brett. Like he'd pick him up and he'd come over like.
Oh yeah, I think it was the heart attack, wasn't it?
Yeah. They said they did that to Vince, and they don't know how Vince got back up after it. They said they fucking nailed him, and Vince just like sort of just after like a minute later just pops back up
In a bar?
I don't even think they were in the bar then. I think they went outside to do it. So this is like maybe on
shit.
concrete or something. Yeah.
Jeez.
But Vince is a fucking lunatic.
Oh yeah, like the plane flight from hell.
I'm surprised. Like Brock and Perfect Kurt Hennig didn't get arrested, and then you get like Rick. I'm surprised Rick didn't get arrested.
Yeah, no kidding. After that, this is where Corny's like, "What was that? I'd never seen that before."
Yeah, but it looks like he just dropped the dude straight on his head.
It did. Yeah, it was kind of like a. Almost like a, what's that Edge DDT, the Execution, the Impaler, whatever it is, where you lift him in the air. Or it might have been almost like a cradle, but he landed on his head. I remember, yeah. Not good. Where's the part where Vince walks up? Here it is. He's like, I gotta go, like, send me a tape. And everyone in the theater I was in was like, yeah, right. He never watched another second of that match. I mean, come on.
Yeah, Vince saw all he needed to see. Like, I think as soon as they started working in the ring, Vince was just like, this this is my escape plan now. I'm going to say I need to get away from this after like 2-3 minutes, and then I'm gone.
Right.
JR can deal with the goodbye.
Yeah.
I love
here
that.
It is right here.
Yeah, but Roland takes him aside as well. Like the word is, Tony needs work, but Modest is ready.
That's not what I heard. It's like he's almost feeding him false hope, right?
Yeah. Well, just to keep him around. I love that, but we missed it before. We sort of skipped over it, but Modest is living above the gym.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he worked at a morgue unloading bodies.
So he's like the golden boy of the wrestling academy.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a big fish in a very small pond, for sure.
Very, very small ring.
Look how small he is. Look how tall Alexander is compared to him. It's like, shit.
Well, what's he say? He's like, Modest is too big to be a flyer and too small to be a heavyweight.
Yeah, it would be a travesty if he weren't to get a contract or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, like, he's not small enough to be a flyer. Like, Jericho could go up and fly, and like, there was, Kidman and stuff. They weren't smaller than Modest.
Yeah. Yeah, just because he's slightly buff.
Yeah.
I mean,
Crash
come on.
was doing that sort of stuff as well.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
All right.
We'll get to it later, but there's another connection in there as well with the Hollies.
In this, there is?
Oh, yeah. I was just going to say with Spike Dudley, how they show him in there.
Hey, look, is this guy over here cosplaying as him? What's going on? I never noticed that until I just saw this freeze frame. Holy smokes.
Well, I mean, look at the size of, like, Billy Gunn's not like a big wrestler. Like,
yeah, let's skip ahead here.
When he goes out to the ring, like, he's not huge.
I went too far.
But, look, it's like the size difference between them when he goes past them is, like, monumental. Yeah, he's like, get something that does something here.
Yeah. JR didn't give a shit. He's like, get yourself something a little more flattering here.
Yeah.
I can't find it. Where Mr. Ass, where Billy Gunn walks by. But yeah, he's like towering over him, So they leave, and then they start getting into... Oh, I did like this. I did like when Mick...
Yeah, Mick goes up
talks to him. Look at that, though. He was huge compared to him.
Yeah. And that's like when you don't realize like how big some of the other like big dudes in the WWF were.
Right. But this was nice of him, to talk to him. And that's I think, just the way Mick is.
Yeah. Like he was... Well, I mean, I think Mick knows... Like, because he's not the stereotypical wrestler body and, physique and everything. Mick knows, like, it's a hard road to get through if you're not sort of considered the poster boy of the WWF. And, Mick's been there. So he was like, if you really want it, this isn't like the first step to like a future career. This is like a wake up call to like, you guys need a lot of work.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely not ring ready.
No.
Yep. So then they move on to the Terry Funk part.
I love this is one of my favorite parts of it. This and the Foldy one later on, but this is one of the great parts of the documentary.
What when he gets out of bed? It's like number one, that his wife is goofy as all get out. I don't know if you noticed that or not. And she's like, "Yeah, come on back here with the camera."
Well, I mean, she's married to Terry Funk. Like, there's got to be some level of like, craziness to put up with him.
There he is.
Yeah, it's like you guys couldn't have waited 10 minutes with the camera until he was just got his pants on.
And what I think is hilarious about it, he's not like, "What the hell? Why is there a camera in here?" He's like,
"This is completely normal."
He's like, "Morning," like, and he starts putting his pants on.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit. I remember people laughed at that car commercial. And this is pretty typical in America. Some, I hate to say it, but minor celebrity, doing car commercials.
Yeah. I mean,
This is a great moment.
It's the same here as well.
Yeah, he died, like I said, about within the last year. Hell, it might have been within the last 6 months. I think it was in April, maybe? Terry Funk. Holy shit, August. So, yeah, it wasn't that, 4 months ago. So, yeah, and man, just long career. But I love this scene here. This is like when I first started turning the television on when I'm like 4 years old and finding all this type of stuff. Because it was all over the television from 80 to, it started getting unpopular in the early 90s. And then it kind of disappeared. And then it started coming back during Attitude.
There's this shot, and then there's the one later where he wins the ECW match. He's like celebrating, like yelling out to his wife. And she's like in horror. She's like in the stands in horror, like going, fuck, I told you not to do that moonsault. Don't do any of these other high spots. And then he's at the end, he's just like there going, we did it. We did it.
Yeah, and we'll get to it. I don't want to ruin the moment, but there's another great Blaustein camera move. So I guess his kid's getting married here and all that. And this is when they're in Japan. He started doing the death match with him,
isn't it? I think.
No, that's his brother. I think that's
Dory
Jr. Yeah. I think he's still going.
I always just see the cowboy hat and think it's Cowboy Bob.
Cowboy Bob was awesome, though. Technician in the ring, man. By the way, did you see that clip the other day where somebody was watching Old School and Bob did an RKO in '87?
Did he?
We gotta see that. We gotta see that really quick.
I haven't seen that one.
I probably watched that match in the last 5 years on the network, but I wasn't paying attention because if I had, I would have noticed. Like, oh shit, look, he just did an RKO. 20 years? Not 20 years, probably 15 years before Randy started wrestling. Even we gotta find this. Give me a second.
Yeah, the end of that ECW match does have that feel to it.
Yeah, it does.
Except he won.
Maybe I was on my Ring into Focus account whenever I saw that. Hang on.
So he didn't steal it from DDP, he stole it from his dad.
Right.
This part, but is...
Fuck.
Like, as someone who grew up playing sport, like, when you've, like, sort of finished playing sport after a lot of years, and you go to, like, these medical exams, and the doctor tells you, like, you've got no cartilage in your knees, like, how are you running and stuff? And then you look at what Funk's done to his body, and it's like that scene in Dark Knight Rises where the guy's explaining to Bruce Wayne, like, everything that's wrong with him, and, like, no, I don't recommend you go heli skiing. And everyone's like, no, I don't recommend you keep wrestling, Terry.
Yeah.
He must be, like, he's held together by tape or something. Like, his knees were just... Like, there's a shot of him later where he's walking along the gravel and, like, just stumbles.
Yeah, I think he had a pothole or something.
Yeah. They talk about in the commentary, Terry's like, did you debate putting that in? And Blaustein's like, yeah, I sort of, armed and armed about putting it in, but I couldn't have been too bad because I ended up putting it anyway, so.
Huh. So this isn't the video I found the other day, but it's the same match and everything. This is a GIF of it, but
yeah.
He was just like, that was Don Morocco, and then he had him like twisted up, and then he just went boom, there it is. So crazy, huh?
Oh, I was gonna say, because that was one of my guesses. Who do you think the wrestler was at the start that Blaustein was watching when he was a kid, and who ran out and got into the car with his girlfriend. Do you reckon that was anyone like big, or? Because I always thought it was like Morocco. When I first watched it as a kid, I thought it was Andre the Giant.
I don't know. I mean, was he at like a independent show? Like,
Yeah, I think
was
it was
he at
just
a
like
WWF show?
No,
Who
it
knows?
was just like an independent show, I think.
We'll have to ask him.
Yeah.
So what I liked about this was, I love this Texas doctor too. He's like, your right knee doesn't have any cartilage left. And then let's get to Terry here. Come on.
Yeah, so he's like, on the good
What's
knee.
up with this hat? It's like he just went like this and left it the way it was that morning. Like,
Yeah. They're style icons, man, I tell you.
but yeah, I love the question he asked, because I ask doctors this too. I'll be like, hey, okay, what if we do nothing? You know, like, what happens? Like,
Yeah, but I love how he goes, he explains all that to him, the doctor, and then Terry goes, okay, so we don't do the knee replacement. What about how can I live comfortably?
yeah. He's like, you should be able to live comfortably now.
Yeah, will I still live comfortably for the rest of my life? You shouldn't be comfortable now. I don't know how
Yeah.
you're walking.
Yeah. Oh, man. That's hilarious.
It's you'd imagine like him, Mick Foley, like the doctors, like when they see like the X-rays and the MRIs and everything, they'd be like going, "Is this guy a car crash victim or what?"
Right.
For
This is when he
part,
goes,
ECW.
yeah, those crazy fans.
So I wasn't like, I didn't watch ECW because I had really no access to it here. Like,
Yeah, we didn't have it in California either. So
yeah, like I only really got to know ECW once it sort of started to filter into WWF. Like the wrestlers would come over, and then, like, of course, when they did that whole invasion angle. But this part of ECW, I had no real idea about. And I love where they're doing the promos, and Paul's mom's just ironing in the background.
yeah, and I wonder if the neighbors, they had to have heard, because he's loud. You know, like,
Oh yeah.
that's crazy.
Unless they soundproof that basement, like Heyman would be
Right.
screaming.
Right. I did get the magazines. You could get the pay-per-views, and as early as like 99, believe it or not, there was a network, some cheap-ass network called America One, I think, and they actually had a streaming channel on the internet in like 99, 2000. And they would have a wrestling block. You could watch Hardcore TV, you know, that's ECW. You could watch, what was the fake ECW in California? XPW. And they got really violent in that one. You could watch NWA Wildside. And then there was another show. Yeah, big block. And the only problem was it would be slightly pixelated. Because, again, this is like over 56.
Oh yeah.
You know, dial up, and
I can imagine. I can't even imagine how it would be like coherently smooth. Like it wouldn't just stutter from frame to frame.
here's how deep I was into it. So I moved into an apartment in 99, and the cable available in that apartment didn't have UPN affiliate, right? And I couldn't watch SmackDown. So by antenna you could, but the antenna, it wouldn't pick it up there. So I would take a miniature television I had with a cigarette lighter charger, whatever, and I would drive to this parking lot in the middle of town, and I would like put it on my dashboard and get like food and watch it on there for 2 hours because I couldn't miss it. And it was black and white, by the way.
Huh,
Yeah.
that's true
That's-
dedication.
Yeah, because that was during all the hot storylines, and it's like, oh, you can't miss this shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was hilarious. He's all screaming like, "Tickets on sale!" And then the screen goes blank. He's like, "Fuck!"
I missed it by like 1 second.
Paul Heyman. Do you think he's a wrestling genius?
I'm not a big fan of Paul Heyman, really.
Why?
Well, like I said, like I didn't watch ECW, so I have no real understanding of like how he built that and made that competitive, or I guess slightly competitive to the other two. But my experience was him when he came over and became like the heel manager and all the stuff he did in WWF/WWE, and I couldn't stand him for the most part. Like, I hate Brock Lesnar as a wrestler, and to me, Paul Heyman was just his mouthpiece because Brock couldn't say anything himself.
Yeah. No, as a manager, forget about all the backstage and all that. As a manager, he was always great. Like when he was Paulie Dangerously in WCW,
I remember
there's
that
some
name,
amazing stuff. Like he had this feud with like Missy Hyatt for like 2 years, and he would like insult her, and they had this arm wrestling match, and she wore like this low cut shirt, and I have a screenshot on my Ring Into Focus account because I was watching it, and I paused the television and I took a picture of it. So she had this low cut, and then the look on his face, his eyes are all wide, and then she slams this. It was just like classic wrestling stuff. And then he started getting serious, and he formed like one of the greatest wrestling stables of all time, the Dangerous Alliance, where you had like Stone Cold or Stunning Steve Austin, you had Ravishing Rick Rude, you had Arn Anderson, you had Bobby Eaton, like all good wrestlers and stuff. And it was like, Larry Zbyszko was in it. Just like a bunch of badasses. Great stable and great entrance music as well. Yeah, so they're kind of going into that, and Terry came to kind of put over their first pay-per-view to give it some star power, right?
Yeah, this speech is great.
Oh, yeah. This is the show.
They're out there paying $20 each. Knock on wood.
Yeah. I don't know who that guy is.
No,
there's Perry Saturn, Terry Funk, Perry's partner. What was his name? John Cronus. That's Shane Douglas. Yeah, he horrible. Yeah, and then he kept getting worse because WWF gave him like all the "we're trying to get you to quit" gimmicks and stuff.
Yeah, the mop.
Yeah, the mop and all that. He disappeared for years.
Doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, people couldn't find him, and they thought he was dead, and then he resurfaced about 5 years ago. This is the show. Blue Meanie.
I love that guy. He just looks back. Yeah, that was it.
Yeah. You know what happened with Kurt Angle in ECW, don't you? Look at this creepy stuff with Francine here.
No.
You deserve this.
He does get a bit close, doesn't he? I was surprised they cut there because I guess I'm like imagining just after they cut on there, like Heyman's hand keeps going down onto her ass.
Oh yeah. Well, she had to have blown him who knows how many times. I mean,
they probably all like it's all the divas that work for Vince. Like none of them probably got out. None of them would have gotten away unscathed. Terry, that's in the commentary. Like Terry goes, "That's how inspiring Paul Heyman's speech was. He made the old man start doing push-ups."
That's a great line.
Yeah, but no, I don't know I know the connection, like where Taz came into the WWF and beat Kurt Angle, but I don't.
No. So, Kurt went to ECW. I think it was after he talked to WWF the first time, and it didn't go anywhere. He went to ECW, and they did the Raven thing with the cross, Sandman.
Oh yeah.
And he was like offended by it, like like Milk Boy, whatever, offended by it.
Yeah.
And he yelled at Paul Heyman, and he threatened to sue him for associating him with something like that and all that stuff. There's stories on that out there, and he was.
Kurt's a bit of a weirdo. I've never really a fan of Kurt. Like that whole era, I thought was sort of the worst. That's what sort of made me stop watching wrestling. Like the era where Kurt Angle started to be like champion, and then he was like against Brock, and then Benoit, and all those sort of times. I was just sort of like, I'm ready to get out now.
Yeah.
But Kurt, like the only thing I know about Kurt now is how Jeff Jarrett took his wife.
Really?
Yeah, like
Oh, that is right. You're right.
Karen
right?
Angle. Yeah. That's all I know about Kurt now. Creepy Paulie is creepy.
Yeah, and his new wife is a bit of a space cadet, so
No, I don't follow. I haven't kept up with Kurt Angle for a long time, and even when he was wrestling, I wasn't like, I hated that invasion angle where Kurt was like Vince's little like Muppet boy with and they did that stuff, all that comedy stuff with him and Austin, and that to me that was like when wrestling just became awful.
I got us badges.
Yeah, and the little fucking cowboy hat and the little guitar. Like
We don't need no stinking badges.
Yeah, it was comedy and stuff, but it was like I like aspects of the invasion angle, but not those ones. And they got all the rosters wrong. Like how the fuck Austin was an alliance member was beyond me.
Well, because he was in WCW in the 90s, like, okay.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah. If anything, plus Austin just should have been a wild card, not with anyone, or he's like a through and through WWF dude.
The problem is they were trying to continue what they started at WrestleMania with, you know, the heel turn and his alliance with Vince and all that stuff. And then which
I hated.
He's turning and he's Vince. Remember before he declared he was going to be on the alliance's side, he's like, I need the old Stone Cold.
Yeah.
Give me a stunner. Yeah.
At least that was better than his last stunner again with Vince.
Yeah. Horrible. Or that one with Linda where she just like turns, you know, have you ever seen that one?
Some of them, yeah. Some of the like the backstage people when they take a stunner, it's almost like their bodies just like stiffen up and they like just don't know how to fall.
Yeah. Some of the wrestlers too.
Yeah.
So this is mirroring what happens later, right, with Mick and his family. I feel like that's what they were doing.
Yeah, just to a much like the Mick one's dialed up to like 50. This is like at a 10. Like Mick's dialed up to 50. But yeah, you see the toll it takes on the family, not just the wrestler.
Yeah. Well, especially it's like, hey, our 60-year-old father's out there, you know, like
52. I think he was 52 then.
Gosh, that's only 5 years older than me, and I feel like I'm in much better
I can't
shape
remember.
than
He
was.
might have been older than that, but I think he was 52.
Well, shit, I just had it pulled up. Terry Bunk. All right, so he was born in 44. So 60 would have been 2004. Subtract 6. So he is about 54.
Yeah.
Still not that much older than I am. All right, so he wins, and that cheesy moment we talked about. And then he has this cheesy moment with Tommy Dreamer. But what's funny is right there, this was great. Like he's all injured, and then here comes a bud. You know?
Yeah, he's like goes from the Rocky moment, like celebrating, yelling out to his wife, like walking to the backstage area, to cut to him like nearly dying, coughing up like blood and stuff as they're patching him up, and then cut again to him sitting there with downing a beer. It's like the ultimate progression.
That's my dog.
Yeah.
That's what I would do.
Oh yeah. It's like you see it here, like the sportsman, well, the one I follow, rugby league. Like as soon as they finish a game, they're like brutalized, but they cut to the locker room. They're all sitting there with cans of beer.
Yeah. And they go back into Mick. This is him as Cactus Jack, and I think WCW or ECW.
And this to me is like the absolute fucking craziness. Like wrestling, like you can't do this often. Like if you have a promotion like sort of centered around like those sort of death matches and everything, like I'm like, you're gonna be just destined to fail because you can't keep doing that at a regular pace.
Right. Then they start going into Mick's life here.
Yeah.
Did you ever see?
This is my favorite part of the documentary.
Did you ever see any of those documentaries where they go into more of this footage from when he was a kid?
Yeah, I've got one of the Mankind ones. I think I think it's either the old like DVDs that WWF or WWE used to do, or I've seen the one like what is it, like AEW channel or something now? Was it the was it A&E channel?
A&E, yeah.
Yeah.
I love this
AEW,
scene here.
That's the fucking wrestling thing.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I love the scene here. It's like
the old stuff. Yeah. His dad's getting pissed at him.
Yeah, I hope this isn't. I hope this isn't being filmed now.
Yeah.
Can me and the kids wrestle in the basement?
Yeah.
For what? for the thing.
There?
And he's like, "How are you gonna get down there? There's no way. You're not filming now, are you?" Like your typical Yankee.
Yeah.
That's what his dad is.
He's like talking through the door. It's like, I'm not coming out while they're filming.
And then they talk about him, and
yeah.
Here's what's funny: the guy, his friend. Well,
yeah,
there's Meltzer's only appearance in the whole thing.
Oh, he's like in it like once or once more, I think maybe.
Really? I thought it was just once. Okay.
Oh, well, I've got the director's cut. That's what I watched, and there's like an extra 6 minutes or something. So maybe.
Oh, I thought you said there wasn't anything new.
No, the director's cut. There's 6 extra minutes, but I don't know what's new. Like, what's the difference from the theatrical cut? I'd have to watch them both sort of to compare them. But there's like just some extended stuff with Jake, I think. I think a lot of it is actual deleted scenes, like maybe on the DVD that you have.
Got it. Well, I have the original DVD, so I don't even think there is anything.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to find his friend, this Zucker guy. What's funny
he's in a lot of the those documentaries I've watched of Mick, like the old DVD, and like how they talk about going to all the shows and doing the stuff off the in the backyard, off the roof and everything, and Mick having his own like dude love persona back then.
Yeah. What's funny is if you read the book, Have a Nice Day, which is one of the greatest wrestling books of all time.
Oh, possibly the greatest. That and like Foley is good.
Jericho's book is his first book is good. Lots of stories and all that.
His first 2 are pretty good. Jericho's ones, yeah. But Mick's
anyway,
first 2 are unparalleled, I think. I just got here. Just vamp for a sec.
I've got the paperback as well that has additional chapters and shit where he expands on it. But there's a story about his friend, this Zucker guy, and they worked at a restaurant that sold potatoes, right? Like different kinds of potatoes, baked potatoes and all that. And they would deliver them. So he was playing a joke on his friend, and he took 2 potatoes and peeled them into balls. And he took another one and made it like a dick. And then he put them all together with toothpicks. Well, the friend accidentally delivered it to some old lady. And just the way he told the story is like Mrs. So-and-so on whatever street probably had like a pleasant surprise that night when she opened up her container. So,
yeah.
Oh, man. His childhood was kind of like mine, where you live on a street and you do all that kind of crazy stuff, like outside all the time playing,
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
being creative and all
growing
that.
up, I was outside till after the sun went down.
Yep.
But this is the one I just got recently.
Is that older? It has to be older because he's dead.
No, this is new. No, he started writing it, but his children finished it for him.
Okay.
Yeah, his daughter Ariel and his son Colt. But yeah, I just got this one. I haven't started reading it yet, but that's I'm hoping that's another great one like the Jericho and Mick Foley ones. I've also got the Bret Hart one. I haven't gotten too far into, but that one's a good one.
Yeah, I've heard. Jack, you're talking about In This Very Ring, I think. I think that's the one he's talking about. It's really old now, like 20 years at least. So, here are his kids, you know, and now his daughter shows her ass on the internet. So,
Has she?
oh yeah,
I saw something because I've been looking up like Mick Foley clips and stuff. I saw this thing where she was gonna become a WWE superstar. I don't know if that. Oh, this I don't know. It was a clip from like I don't know, maybe like 3-4 years ago or something, maybe even longer. But I don't know if that ever turned out into anything. Mick was like trying to talk her out of it like immediately. He's like, "No, am I dreaming?" But this is brutal. This part of the documentary, like, especially when you get to the match, like that's. I don't think, and then when they play it back to Mick, that's when it all sinks in for him.
Yeah, and she also has a weird thing where she likes pizza and stuff. But
Damn.
she has a lot of pictures like that.
I'll have to do more research.
Yeah. And they have like podcasts together and stuff too.
I've seen Mick's podcast, and I watched his. Like, I've seen a lot of the stuff he's done with his family.
She's an SJW. Wow.
Oh, okay. I've seen a lot of. Well, Mick's not like Mick's very leaning one way these days, I'd say.
Oh yeah,
if you see like his social media and stuff, but
I remember one time they were having a show in Alabama or Mississippi, and he's like, yeah, blah, 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 and I have Kerry stickers on my car, and like he almost got booed out of the building. Like, that's not the place to say that, bud.
Yeah. No, I've seen a lot of the stuff with Mick and his family through the years. Like, he did this documentary thing where he was Santa Claus. I watched that one Christmas. That was good.
Huh.
Because he's always wanted to be
Frank
Santa
the Clown
Claus.
is.
Frank the Clown. No idea.
No clue.
A clown named Frank?
So let's ask this question here. Like, how did he get her as a wife?
Yeah, he's punching above his weight. Yeah. Colette's pretty hot.
Oh yeah. Betty Nice.
She was like she was a model, I think, but I think she then did some like valet work in WCW.
Really? If
Yeah.
I knew that, I've forgotten. So
I think with Mick, I don't know if it was with anyone else, but I think, or she like worked with him somewhere besides WWF.
Mm-hmm.
But Mick's always seemed like the sort of like the normal dude of wrestling, even though he was like so extreme.
He's a mark. Okay. Frank the Clown. Oh yeah, look at that. Yeah. Yeah. All right. And then we get into
underrated
Jake.
women of wrestling.
There you go.
Just like Dixie Carter.
UWW. That'd be a good segment.
Yeah.
This is like you know, when you say, hey, great promo from Jake,
Mm.
it's like almost redundant, but this is
Yeah.
one of the greatest ever. This is
The
where,
avarice line.
yeah, like, and how appropriate it will be. You wallowing in the muck of avarice. And then Mean Gene Longfellow couldn't have said it better.
Yeah. I was a big fan of Jake
Dude,
as a kid. But he just
I've been
vanished.
watching. Yeah, in my right now my rewatches, it's weird. I'm doing a decade thing. I'm doing 81, 91 and 01 to see how wrestling changed. 81 right now, I'm on Mid-Atlantic. He was in Mid-Atlantic as Jake the Snake Roberts. He's not the snake because he has a snake. It was just his name. Vince said, "Oh, you got to have a snake," you know. He wears a cowboy hat and he's billed from somewhere in Texas, not Sweetwater. In any event, he his promos there when he's like in his second year were freaking amazing. There's this one where he's teaming with Ricky Steamboat, and they cut a promo I think after the match, and he's like something like, "Just like we showed you in the ring right there, you come up against one of us, someone gonna hit the dirt," and then he just walks away. Just the delivery was like freaking great. Like he came up on the spot, he came up with that line, and just the delivery. Like he's always been great on the mic, like almost unmatchable.
Yeah, and his in-ring presence was just, it was like he'd just stare at them, and then like the crowd would like erupt.
Well, he told that story when I saw him, and everyone's seen the picture when I met him and stuff. But before the autograph session, he did like an hour and a half long thing, you know, speech, Q&A, all that stuff. And he talked about the canceled feud with Hulk. Late 86, he was still a heel before he turned face to do WrestleMania 3 to go up against Honky Tonk Man, right? Because Honky Tonk Man came in as a face. Stupid ass idea. And I still have the theory that there's no way even Vince was that stupid. And it was all a setup to turn him heel eventually. Because why would Vince think the crowd would like an Elvis impersonator? You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I think they did it that way on purpose. In any event, and by the way,
bad Elvis impersonator.
Yeah, Hogan even gave him the stamp of approval. I watched that a couple of years back when I was doing 86. And, yeah, he's like, Honky Tonk Man, dude, he's really cool. He gets the Hulkamania stamp of approval to try and, you know, excuse me, push him as a babyface.
Yeah.
So, anyway, we're going to feud these guys. I'm going to say November, December, in that range. He had him on the Snake Pit and all this shit. The problem was at house shows, the crowd was chanting DDT. And Vince is like, oh shit. We can't have that, right? Because we're trying to build Hulk. He's about to go up against Andre and all that. So they just didn't even mention it again. It was like, that's it, it's over.
Yeah.
But that would have been.
Well, Vince, I mean, honestly, I don't think, besides, I think Austin and Rock, that's the only one that's worked where Vince has booked like a face versus face, and it's worked. And even then, they usually turn Austin heel at the end of it.
Yeah, true. Yeah, Honky Tonk Man was great. Just ask him. Yeah, he's been recently. He's been like a mark for himself. He's mad that Gunther like beat his record as longest reigning IC champion and stuff. It's like, dude, that was like 25 plus years ago. Like, get over it. So,
and I mean,
and honestly, Gunther's like way better than him in the ring and as a character.
Matches like that whole time. Like, he wasn't like wrestling and beating people. He was just mostly avoiding matches and DQing himself or just running away. Honky Tonk.
Remember when he the thing where you have to defend a title every 30 days? Remember that rule? It's like, oh, if you don't defend it every 30 days, you're going to lose it. And that's how they justified all like the market house shows and stuff.
Yeah.
And the only title ever change at a house show, I think the tag titles did, and then they just announced it saying, hey, I think it was like Rockers and they had to give them back and all kinds of crazy stuff. But I think it was a tag title that actually stuck. Might have been Heart Foundation.
Yeah, I think it was either
when they were punishing someone.
Yeah, it was either Brett or Flair.
Yeah, maybe that was later on.
Gave up a belt
that was
on
later
a house
on.
show. Yeah.
But in the 80s, when they would always mention it, you got to defend it. Gorilla would say it to Bobby when they were doing the primetime segments and all that stuff. Well, now it's like Roman Reigns could go like 2 months without wrestling. Like
Yeah. Well, Brock. I mean,
mm-hmm.
Brock just comes back once a year, pretty much. And has been that way since like his prime. Still.
Watch Jake stuff in Mid-South when he DDT's Dark Journey. Do you know who Dark Journey is?
No.
Pretty sexy black woman. She was Tully Blanchard's valet for a cup of coffee in NWA, WCW, JCP, whatever you want to call it, in the late 80s. I want to say it was 86 when she valeted him. But yeah, she was nice. And she had a nice voice too.
I'll
nice,
look into
sexy
it.
voice. Dark Journey.
I'll be back.
He called
I'll be
her
right
DJ.
back. 1 minute.
All right. The worst title rule was the WCW TV title where there was a time limit. Yeah, I remember that. In the early 90s, I remember watching my 93 rewatch a couple of years ago, and that came into play a couple of times. And that's how I think it was Paul Orndorff kept escaping losses. Vince hates anyone getting over organically. Yeah, most of the time for sure. More than anything because they want their plans to be executed. He could be stupid sometimes. Look at right now. And they're claiming that he doesn't have as much of a say. But I think he even had a say when he was supposedly fired. Although they did some stuff as soon as he left last August where they started hiring people back that you could tell Triple H was a mark for, right? Some of them really bad choices too, like Hit Row and a few others that just were terrible. But I think he was still involved that whole time from August until whatever it was. I think he returned in January, and then the deal was made, wasn't final, and then they said, he's going to be not the majority, but the majority of the minority shareholder owner. Because he owns 49, the company Endeavor owns 51, but of the 49, he has the most. So, shoot interview, huh? Okay. All right. So they go into Jake, and then this is where
Now this is just plain sad. This part.
Which part? The whole Jake part is what you mean,
whole
right?
Jake part, yeah. Because
Yeah.
as I said, I was a big fan of Jake as a kid. Like, loved the whole snake gimmick and loved the work in the ring. And then he just vanished. Like, I was like,
Yeah,
where
but
the fuck did Jake the Snake go?
here's the thing, though. Like, what's shown here isn't even the lowest.
Oh yeah, wasn't there like another documentary just based on him? Like,
Yeah.
not like recently after this, but like maybe like
It was
10
like
years after.
06, 07. Yeah,
Yeah.
I have it on DVD. It was whatever the name of it was. And
Because I
They
think
go
in my
into that.
memory, I conflated a lot of the stuff that happened in that documentary into this,
right.
especially with his daughter and like the past and everything. Because when I was watching this back, I was like, I remember there being a lot more with the daughter, but I think that I was thinking back to that other one.
Well, they go into stuff in the WWF DVD, but then the Dark Side of the Ring is even worse.
I can imagine.
That's the one where it all comes out.
Well, just the stuff they say about his father, like in this one, like that Jake says about his dad, like who his real mother, like who his mother is, and like his like grandmother was like his father's wife, sort of thing. I don't know. Was that in the theatrical?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
So this is where JR's talking. He's like, he could be one of the most powerful forces in the creative side in our industry, but he's just got daemons. And he's probably right. He could have been at that time.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, here's another part where they actually talk about Vince, and he had a good point. Like, he never knew if he was talking to the character or the person, and is there even a character?
Yeah, is there a difference?
Mm-hmm.
I love this look for Vince, but with his coat sleeves pulled back and just the black shirt showing underneath. It's a very bold statement.
He's always got the first two top buttons undone as well on his shirts. It's hilarious.
Yeah. Oh, I can't talk, so have I. But
yeah. So
yeah, he was Tyler. That's what in this they just flat out say it in this. Well, Jake just flat out says it.
This is where I get confused. I could have sworn on this part they were supposed to be somewhere in cornfield land. Nebraska or Iowa or something. But these people are distinctly southern. Someone in the chat that's seen this, correct me if I'm wrong, but I could have sworn this is when they show up wherever it is, and they're not in the South, but these people are pretty southern, which made me raise my eyebrows. Like, did Barry make some shit up here? Someone tell me if I'm wrong.
Sorry. I thought you were sharing another clip there. I thought this woman on the right was going to start telling us Star Wars isn't dead. We should trust in Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau. I got mixed up there. Sorry.
That's how this works, okay?
Start wheezing into the microphone.
Click, gone. But someone looked this up, and I thought these...
I know you're just a troll, Junkman.
Junkman's a legend. Yeah, but and look how cold it is wherever the hell they are. It doesn't get that cold in most of the South. So I raised my eyebrows at this. Like, is he stitching a bunch of stuff together or whatever? I don't know. I'll have to look into it.
Everyone else is dressed not for that weather.
Yeah.
When they were like interviewing the people outside.
Yeah, you're right. There's something odd there. There's Greg Valentine.
He just goes and starts grabbing his fat on his stomach.
Yeah.
Just walks up and just starts grabbing it. And then he turns around and starts pissing in a bucket in a corner. It's just like, yep, there we go.
And then I like this right here. Let me pause it at the right time. He's like, yeah, the camera's on. He's like that uncle, you know?
Yeah. And Coco,
this
another one you haven't seen in a long time.
Gosh, this was really sad. When they interview him in the hotel room, in the motel room, and he's like, you know, still trying to get bookings and all that shit.
Coco was great.
Oh yeah, the Ghostbuster.
It's not a bit of a mixed theme here. Like, they both had animal gimmicks, but as a kid, like they got over to all the kids back then.
Beyond the cantina.
The dark side of the ring.
Yeah. What the hell was up with this?
I thought he had wrestling tights on at first, and I'm going, he wore like black pants in the ring, and what's he got these wrestling tights on underneath? And I'm like, there's some shiny underwear.
Yeah. And I got the backs pulled down, like, okay.
Style icons, I tell you, all of them.
So here's the part.
This is, and especially because what he said previously about his dad, and then they have this meeting. This is just like real creepy, and his dad's there just like smashing a stone with a sledgehammer for some apparent reason.
While Jake is like
just shoveling leaves,
and they burn him later.
They throw him over a fence.
Well, they're throwing him into a burning thing because you can hear it crackling later. You really can't see it, but the point is, he's saying, he was a piece of shit dad, and he said I'd never amount to anything. But then we watched Dark Side of the Ring in 2020, whatever year it was, 2021, and we find out, I don't want to talk about it a lot, but this guy was doing horrible stuff. Mm. Like multiple underage girls coming forward, you know?
They
his own daughter.
They mentioned a bit in the commentary, Terry Funk, when it got to this part, he's like, oh yeah, I wrestled like Grizzly Smith, like, you know, way back in the day. And then they were like, you know, talking like, he says like, Jake says some pretty horrific things about his father. And Funk's like, I've heard a lot of stories about Grizzly Smith, and if Jake's said there's some horrific things, I'd say that most of the stories I've heard are pretty much true. So like, you know, he was a piece of shit for like a long time, and a lot of people knew about it.
Yeah, he was still booking, you know, for like Mid-South into the early 80s and stuff. But the point is, like, I don't care if it's your father or not. If you knew about that stuff, why would you go visit him before you go visit your daughter that you hadn't seen in 4 years, according to the documentary? You know what I mean? Like, I would do everything I could to put my father away if I knew he had been doing something like that.
Barry said, like, because they made a joke about it, Terry says, Blaustein says, everyone told me Jake is going to try and rip you off. Like, somewhere along the line here, Jake will, like, rip you off. And he was going, but Jake, you know, I'd offered to buy him dinner, and he'd go back to the hotel room and end up, like, just ordering his own dinner sort of thing. And he goes, the only time Jake drove was to his dad's house, and they stopped off and got a 6-pack and a bottle of schnapps, and Jake downed them both in like 2 minutes before he went and visited. So there's definitely some bad, like, sort of vibes there, or straight off the bat.
Yeah, good point. I forgot about that. I think they showed him on screen a few times because I was, like I said, I've been watching early 90s WCW. See, there's the fire. Where is it? Well, that's not a fire, but you could hear it crackling and stuff later. But yeah, he was just pounding on a rock.
It's such a weird scene.
It's like, I think he has a lot of good qualities, and he was born out of love, and
that's the weird part. That because especially what Jake said, like prior to that, that's the weird comment that really stuck out. It's like he was born out of love, and it's like, ugh, that's creepy.
Yeah. Yeah, he has a lot of great, like, comments here about, like, being on the road. And he's like, first you start with one. He's talking about, like, prostitutes. Then you do 2. Yeah. Then you do 2 with toys. Then you do 2 with toys I just watch. And then it's like, really? Is that everyone's experience, Jake, or just yours? Like, golly.
He's like, and then where do you go from there?
And don't forget, his wife at the time, in, you know, the late 80s, Cheryl. Pretty much a smoke show.
I don't remember, no.
Oh, yeah. We got to look this up here.
Investigation launched.
She was on television, dude. They did a storyline where Ravishing Rick Rude tried to bring her into the ring, to do the Rude Awakening, and she didn't want to do it. So he goes down there and is mad that she didn't want to do it. So he starts trash talking her, saying, "You and anyone remotely related to you isn't worth 2 cents." And then she slaps him, and then they start doing a storyline. And you know how Rude would always have airbrushed stuff on his tights?
Yeah.
He airbrushed her face on his like crotch or whatever. And then on this one episode, like Jake runs down and strips him. And they had to like censor it because I think he was literally naked, or might have had a jock strap on. Well, then they made a storyline, and he was at like one of the SummerSlams, I think. He goes to the top rope, and then he had another pair of tights on. He pulls him down, and then he had the one with her face again, and then here comes Jake again. So they did a whole storyline about it. But let's see, I found her here. Let me open this image. Let me zoom in. Let me stop sharing. Let me go to this one. I don't know if you guys in the chat remember this storyline, but I remember like asking around, is that really his wife and stuff? But yeah, pretty nice.
Very 80s hair.
Yeah, I wasn't always like that though.
No. I'm sure it wasn't after she got out of the shower. That's pretty difficult to maintain.
Right. Good body too in some of these pictures. But yeah, she was an on-air personality for the duration of that storyline. So pretty interesting. And
I mean, from those days, all I really remember is Miss Elizabeth. Like even as a kid, I was just like, Miss Elizabeth, thank you, please, yes, please.
They're back together now. What? That's great, if true.
Yeah.
Wasn't
Especially
born
considering
yet.
what Jake's been like, in this, like the relationship with his family and stuff is
Right.
You look at it and you go, this is sort of like unfixable.
Well, and it might have been a good thing because maybe they made that storyline because he asked for it because he knew his marriage was having problems. And by the way, they made a rule a couple of years ago in WWF where couples can't be on different brands. And I think that harkens all the way back to Edge and Lita.
Yeah.
I'll never respect them as people. I never want to meet either of them because I just think
snaking
it's
his way in on Matt Hardy.
Yeah, I mean that's just horrible. Like if you're gonna do it, okay, you want to be together, then great. Then you need to go break up with Matt.
Yeah, and then turning it in that angle as well, like sort of rubbing in Matt's face.
And Matt wanted to, he was gone and he came back. So
yeah,
dumb storyline, but I put that part on him. He shouldn't have come back, but and then they go a little bit into China, right?
I love the way they end this. Like, it's cool they spotlight China and everything because she was, so unique back then and even now. But and this is it. Like, look how Triple H is fucking dressed. The little fucking hat thing, the sunnies, the black singlet, and he's got like tan like pants. I don't understand how they think they look remotely like good. But I'll get off the fashion now. But I love the way they end this segment, where it's like, are
those her parents?
No. They're like people who are like, what the fuck is going on here? But I love the way they end it, where they're like, China got her jaw restructured to look more feminine.
Yeah.
It's just like, yeah, that was her problem, the jaw.
Yeah.
Not the fact she was like 6'4", like, solid muscle. But that worked. She was like the female powerhouse.
Yeah, and really, I think
they
there's
just
only
put her up against men too much.
Yeah, there's only been a few exceptions where other women wrestled men as much as she did,
Yeah. Like she should have just been like the dominant women's champ, like but like sort of like years and years, like no one could beat her.
Right. I agree.
She just took on too many men.
This was a funny scene with Spike Dudley.
Yeah. And this was the connection I was talking about with the Hollies, like because him and Molly Holly, but Spike just looks like a fucking lunatic. Look at him. He looks like Jack Nicholson popping through the door in The Shining.
It's probably the intention. I like when he keeps talking and he's like, "What? Wipe it?"
Yeah, it's like, yeah, we're probably going to get a higher rating if you keep this interview up with this blood on your face, but no.
And by the way, for those who don't know, that's like the sweet spot for blading because it doesn't.
The hairline.
Yeah, it's not going to kill you, and it'll create a lot of visible blood, right?
Yeah, you get a lot of claret flowing. Look at him. But like, this is obviously like way before he got his big push in WWF with the Dudley Boys and everything.
Yeah.
But he used to get absolutely like just pummeled, like launched through the like the stuff they used to do with Big Show. I remember, like he'd get just thrown like 10 feet in the air or like 10 feet like forward, like out of the ring and stuff from the Big Show. Like he was like a rag doll. But he just kept bouncing back.
Hey, what? Wipe it?
Yeah. I like Spike.
Yeah, it takes a certain kind of person to be in that industry. So
yeah, and they say here like he was a teacher and then like a Wall Street broker and then he goes to ECW.
He never would have got
Predator.
He never would have gotten a prominent role in wrestling if it weren't for Paul. I mean, think about it.
Oh yeah, and if it weren't for the Dudleys themselves, like he was the third in their tag team sort of. This they talk about like there's all the sad stories and all the the people that get out of wrestling and end up broken down and sort of miserable and financially broke. But like Jesse Ventura, like success story from after pro wrestling. Like he was probably more of a success after wrestling than in wrestling.
Yeah, everyone, himself included, talks about himself as a wrestler. Honestly, like he never really did that much. He had some matches with Hogan and whatever, but
he was there in like the big heyday of the emergence of, like, I guess when it was televised in America and everything, it was making that big push into the mainstream, and he was one of the faces of the early. But yeah, he was. I always remember him more as for like Predator, Running Man, other things than his like wrestling career.
Yeah, and as an announcer, I mean,
and he's work announcing and stuff. He was he had a real great voice for announcing, and he knew the business as well.
Yeah,
I think he just pissed off a lot of the, like if he didn't listen to Vince or didn't listen to the people like telling him in his ear what to say, I think he probably pissed a lot of them off. I love the backstage stuff, but you see and how young Stephanie is, and she's like, you see Vince like talking to all the like announcers and everything from the back on the headphones, and Stephanie's sort of like meekly sitting next to him, just sort of like
I can't wait to get to that scene.
Yeah.
You mentioned Sergeant Slaughter. When I was watching the funny promos earlier, there was one where Slaughter, when he was still in a babyface mode, he's cutting a promo. And I don't know where he was going with that. He's like, there are soldiers in the ground. They gave their lives. And he's like, guess what else? My mother's in the ground. And then, I got to make myself big here. And then Mean Gene has the mic and he's like, and he starts laughing. And then he hands the mic to Slaughter and he steps off to the side. And then Slaughter finishes that dumbass promo, and then he finally comes back and takes the mic back and just stares at the camera like. But he almost lost it like on the freaking screen, man. It was such a great moment. Like I'll have to send that to you later.
Slaughter was so interesting as a wrestler. Like when he was fit and in shape, like he was great. But then he sort of the back end of his career he had that big gut and. would just sort of come out as like one of Vince's like sort of bodyguard sort of things.
Yeah.
But, yeah, Slaughter was in his peak. Slaughter was great, but he was a very strange person. I mean, fuck, you get your own GI Joe character. Like how big and how over do you have to be for that to happen?
Yeah, no shit. Star Wars Scran is now Wrestling Scran.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Refrigerator Perry big because William Refrigerator Perry was huge in the 80s too, and they gave him a GI Joe.
Did they? Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. You had to be pretty popular, So yeah, they go into this like, I'm the governor of Minnesota.
But the behind the scenes, the dinner with Jesse McFoley and the director Barry Blaustein, they get into some interesting topics because Mick he just sort of retired and Jesse'd been long retired, and they talk about the differences in the industry between when they were both sort of at their peak, and then they also talk about how difficult it is for a lot of these people to walk away and leave it and not be sort of consistently drawn back into it and end up sort of like just a shell of their former self.
Yep.
But yeah, if you haven't seen it, I think you said you hadn't seen it, but yeah, the dinner with the guys, what's it called? Yeah, Dinner with the Guys. You can probably find on YouTube out there. But yeah, highly recommended that as well. A good little bonus.
Yeah, I'll get to it eventually. Then New Jack, never been a fan of New Jack.
No, I think this guy should be in jail. And the only reason he's not in jail is because he conned that other independent wrestler who he viciously attacked.
Oh, Mass Transit.
Something like that. He tricked him. He just straight up tricked him. He had all these charges against him, and they go, if you drop the charges, we'll turn it into an angle where we tour go around the territories wrestling each other, and it's a part of an angle. And then he goes, yeah, sure. And he dropped the charges, and then New Jack just never went on the tour with him. He just said, fuck you, and went back home.
Yeah.
But yeah, that dude should be in jail. I love this.
This is great.
As a side note, wrestling is fake. This shows you how full of shit and how fake Hollywood actually is.
Yeah.
These are the fucking, producers, casting directors, everything. They're the low on the totem pole, but they're your sort of gateway into it for a lot of people. And they're so full of shit. They will say anything to either because they were terrified of New Jack for one.
Yeah.
Second, because they will bullshit you straight to your face to either get you out the door or just to get you to keep handing money over as the agent or
false hope.
Keep giving you the percentage.
Yeah, that horrible line delivery. You're telling me this is all the money or whatever it was, and then they're like, "That's it. The audition's over," and then it's get out of here, you N is what they were thinking, and then and then he interviews him, and they're like, "Oh, I think he has great facial features, and
I love
he could be a leading man." And she's like, "He's not the leading man. He's the buddy or whatever." And
she looks at him he goes, "He could be the leading man," and she just sort of stops and looks at him and goes,
"We gotta find."
I see him as Denzel's friend, not Denzel.
Yeah, Denzel's friend. That's how he's.
Yeah, maybe.
Let's see if we can get that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was those two idiots.
But yeah, in the commentary, Blaustein says, I was always a little bit on edge with New Jack because you never knew when he might just boil over. And he goes, half the time I was just saying shit to just make New Jack happy, and I'm like, yep, that's good. And
now watch this here.
They go, New Jack basically made this whole night about himself. He got up and did an hour speech, and by the end of it, he convinced Terry Funk that the night was a celebration of New Jack and not Terry.
Look at that.
Yeah, this is they go, this looks like a sympathetic thing because Terry's announcing his retirement, but they go, Paulie's actually holding him down so he doesn't go back up on stage and continue his hour-long speech. Paulie's physically holding him back.
Look at him. I never noticed that. I never noticed that.
And then you cut to later, and Terry's and New Jack's back up there hugging him.
That's great.
Yeah. Yeah, but Terry Funk's retirement match, and then he goes, yeah, but I'm just retiring from Amarillo.
Are these the
British
guys?
Dudes. Yeah, the British dudes.
We traveled 5,000 miles just to see the show. It's like, okay.
They're in the
Dorks.
shade. If they were in the sun, they would be like bright red by now.
Oh yeah. You know what? You know who this is here? This is 99. This is like young heel versus babyface.
I was gonna say he's like a. I was gonna say
It's
he's
a
like
wrestling
a young
name.
Stone Cold.
Yeah.
No, he's obviously like a big Stone Cold's big at the time. He might be a big Stone Cold fan. That guy.
Well, he failed. Yes.
This
My
bit.
favorite part.
Dennis
Stamp was, and he says he wrestled 5,000 matches, none of them a main event.
This bit's like sort of cringe, but it's also like they talk about it in the commentary. But he goes, I've got a lot of I've got a lot of affection for Dennis. Like he was there like one of my first matches. It was Funk and Dennis versus like Harley Race and who was the other one? I can't remember the other one. It was like two big names, like both against two big names, and he goes, the two on the other team made me look good, but Dennis also made me look good because he gave me all these comebacks and hot tags and stuff. And he says he wanted Dennis there, but I guess he just overlooked him. He just forgot. But this is kind of a bit cringe.
No, this is my favorite part. It's just this guy's one of those guys. Like everyone knows a guy like this. Just the way he walks. You know what I mean? Like just kind of a weirdo.
Do you know many guys that work out on the trampoline in their underpants with weights?
Oh yeah. Hey, you know what? On the way this morning, I was walking through a hallway at work, saw a guy. I hadn't seen this guy in months. No, but he reminds me of this type of guy, just like a full of shit, would do something like this. I've known this guy for like 10 years, about his age. He acts like probably 30 and he's like 60, he acts junior high and he's 60. That's kind of what this guy's personality is. And I love how he's seriously saying, I work out, I eat right. I never know when I'm going to get that call. The phone could ring at any moment. It's like,
if I harass Terry enough, I might get a call.
Yeah, look at his smile when he's jumping and stuff. No, but by all accounts, I think I've seen a few matches with him. I was watching some old stuff, and I was like working on something, and the announcer's like, from Amarillo, Texas, Dennis Stamp, and I'm like, whoa, like it's Dennis. So he wasn't a bad, like a utility guy that you could bring out. Yeah.
It's a hand.
Mm-hmm. I wouldn't want to fight him. Yeah, he died too about 4 years ago, I think. Look at his smile. It's hard to get the smile because it's blurry. Now this is where it gets really cringe, where he's like, you're going to be there. He's like, no, I won't be there. Why not? I'm not booked. I'm not booked. That's an old rule I have, Terry. If I'm not booked, I don't go to the shows.
Yeah.
I go to these shows and into the locker room, and there's all these old wrestlers they're just like old dogs, hoping that someone recognizes them. I'm just like laughing my ass off. He's like, no, I'm going out of town, and I can't be there. He's like, and then Terry's like, please, referee me and Brett, please. I want you to be there. Like,
fuck, the dude's reffing Brett and Terry Funk. That's it's a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
I love how awkward it is, but he's just like, I'm not gonna be there. I don't want. I'm not booked. And then like an hour later, he comes back to him. I've changed my plans. I'm gonna be there.
I love this. I love when he looks at the camera right here. Let's see if we can catch it. Hang on. I think it's right here. Like, he totally looks right at the camera. It's almost like he was putting on a show or something, you know?
Well, yeah, like working an angle, probably
Here
trying
it
to
is,
get
here
into
it
like
is.
the finish. He's like The Rock. He can find the camera wherever it is
Yeah.
in this documentary.
And then this is where he walks away and he trips, right?
Yeah.
It's my last match. Yeah, right. That was funny.
I want you there. I want you there, Dennis.
Yeah, and then this was like a weird ECW WWF joint,
Yeah.
you know, little show. I went to a WCW house show in 2000, and it was weird because you could tell they were working with a local promotion as well, because they had some prelim guys in there. But the three last matches, Kevin Nash, Scott Steiner, and Booker T. So, you know, and Booker T was world champion at the time. And what was the name of the boy band? 3 Count? Do you remember the boy band 3 Count that was Evan Courageous, Jamie Noble, and the other guy? I think it was Shannon Moore. Yeah, they were a boy band. They had a song and all that. Well, they were brawling with... I'm trying to think of who they were wrestling, but they came out into the crowd, and literally on my aisle, they like cleared all of our chairs because the Irish whipped them into all the chairs. And I have a picture. They're like right in front of me. I got to find those pictures somewhere. But that was kind of a cool show. That was one of the better shows I ever went to, because we were right there. And Big Papa Pump is there, and Kevin Nash is there, and Booker T was there. And they're just like right in front of you in a smaller venue. That was kind of cool.
Yeah. It's like
All
a
right.
pretty good event, this.
Yeah. It's a great one to go to.
Yeah,
I love the look on his face. Huh?
You got Funk versus Hart. Was that Sabu versus Mick?
Yep. I love the look on his face here when he's putting the shirt on and stuff. Like, haha, I got to do it.
But
And
yeah,
then when he sees Terry,
he's at this sign where it's wrestlers only. By this point, he's like, "Yes, I can. I'm still allowed back here. I'm a referee. I'm part of the show."
yeah. And when he sees Terry, he makes some douchebag comment like, "You son of a bitch! Like it cost me $130 to change my ticket," or something like that. Oh man, nothing makes that guy happy.
Yeah.
So he does this stupid promo. I'm happy with my career in the match. So they go back to Jake, and this is when they go see his daughter, right?
Yeah.
Yep, yeah. So that was... Oh, man. I wouldn't want to have her as my daughter. That's all I'm going to say. She was annoying. Probably for good reason, but
Oh yeah.
pretty
I mean,
annoying.
You grew up with Jake, that version of Jake as your father. There's gonna be some scars.
Yeah.
But this is just this is more of the real like heartbreakingly sad aspect of the documentary is Jake, and I think he just leaves, doesn't he? He just go, and then the director says like finds him smoking crack in his motel room or something.
Yeah. Well, the first night he goes into town, into the hotel, and they meet him there, and then he like goes to his room. But the next day is when he goes to her apartment.
Yeah.
And then after they leave there, that's when he does. Whenever they get to their destination, he finds crack and stuff. Oh yeah, and then here, let's move forward a little bit. One of the greatest moments in any documentary ever.
He says it in the commentary. This is Terry Funk's favorite part. What's this shit?
What the hell is this shit? Chocolate or something.
He goes like all this hard hitting stuff, and then you got Jake there just like.
Here it is, right here.
Yeah.
The hell is this shit? The whole theater laughed at that. I remember that moment for sure.
Yeah.
In 2000.
Terry Funk from Roadhouse.
Yeah. We covered that already. All that cringe stuff. This is when he cuts the crack promo. He had just done crack.
Yeah.
He's like,
yeah, and you can tell like he's fucking out of it.
And it's like, think about it though. I've checked the records, and it wasn't every weekend, but many weekends they would do, let's say, a Sacramento show, and then they would probably drive down to LA. That's like back in the 80s, that was probably like a 6-7 hour drive. And then they would do an evening show, and then maybe one on Sunday. Not every weekend, but he had a point here. How do you get on 9 flights in a week, get in the ring and get your ass kicked, and then stay awake? So he's like, okay, you take crack to keep going, but then you need to go to sleep, so you take sleeping pills, or you drink to go to sleep, but then you wake up and then you do more coke or whatever to speed up. It's like, I get it, but I don't know if every single wrestler was in that situation.
Yeah. Well,
Wait.
and then you get like those wellness policies and stuff coming in, and they can't smoke weed, and it's like, well, a lot of these problems probably could have been avoided if you did let them smoke weed, especially now that it's like legal mostly throughout the US. Did you lie to the viewers, Tim?
No, because
You've lied to Timon.
No, Timon, I posted this on the 12th at night, and I said tomorrow night, which means tonight. And we're 8 minutes past midnight now, so now it's 2 days later. So no, I was accurate. You gaslit me. You gaslit me, Timon.
We don't understand your foreign concepts of time here in the Southern Hemisphere. You weird Northern Hemisphere people.
Time goes this way, not this way.
Yeah.
Darkness goes this way in seasons.
Darkness.
And he says something else here. I wish I could remember what it was, but pretty brilliant stuff. Like even cracked up, he's still saying some interesting stuff. Oh yeah, he's like, no, I don't feel sorry for myself. If that's what you're getting on that camera, like, it's wrong. Okay, he's like, that's wrong.
Yeah. He's in the depths of it there.
Oh yeah. This is where Mick,
fine looking figure.
Yeah, Mick shows up for the Royal Rumble, right?
For the beating of his life.
Yeah, that would never happen today.
No,
Did you ever?
Especially how he's handcuffed and couldn't like shield any of the shots. Like Rock was taking a lot of exceptions there.
Did you ever have kids that look like this where you're from?
Oh yeah, little rats. Little rats.
This is like a early trans example or something. I don't know what that is.
Get a bit further away from the beach, and yeah, they're like that. More along the beach, they're more like the grommets, like little mini surfies and stuff. But yeah, you get a lot of those guys. I love the kids later where Mick's family sit down and like all the kids in like the whole area just like turn and stare at them.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is like Rock going full Elvis here backstage.
Yeah, but that was his real voice too.
Yeah.
Because again, he's from Tennessee. You know.
He should have been the one to bring back the honky tonk man gimmick.
Yeah. Yeah, that at least is like a gimmick, like
And
a fun one night
yeah.
thing.
I love this bit with Stone Cold where he walks up and Mick's like, "Oh, how you doing?" And Stone Cold just goes, "Oh, not very well, not very good at all, thank you."
Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
straight to
Stone
the-
Cold's a weirdo, dude.
Yeah,
He's a
and he
weird
doesn't-
guy.
He's not sugarcoating. He's like, "I don't feel great." No, fuck off, and just walks off.
And look at this right here. I remember noticing the tension here. The tension here. Watch this. Just watch the whole thing. Like, look. He's like, "Get the fuck out of here, Steve." Like,
This is my moment. This is my moment for the belt.
look at this.
I love Shane as well.
There he is.
Like-
He wipes his head again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet you Shane stepped over there because he saw, because at that time Stone Cold and Rock were not great together. So
No,
Yeah,
they ever
he
were,
doesn't even-
truly great together. They just work together for business, sort of thing.
right, yeah, he doesn't even acknowledge him when he walks away.
This whole part is like truly like heartbreaking watching.
It
this.
is. Oh, there it was. We got to find young Steph here.
Oh yeah, she looks so different. I think she's just like little meek Stephanie, like on the headphones, like next to Vince, learning all the business.
And she's almost exactly my age. So this was filmed in early 99. This was Royal Rumble, right? So she would have been 22 here. And she looks like she's 16. It's weird.
Yeah, well, like she did even like when that whole test angle and stuff started. She looks so young.
Yep. Yeah, and then it's like, all right, she's a bad girl now. She's going to wear eyeliner and lipstick, you know.
And get massive tits.
Well, that was years later.
Oh yeah, I know, yeah, but I'm just saying, like the
Here's what's awesome.
the progression
on
of
these-
Stephanie McMahon.
Yeah. I was on these wrestling forums in the late 90s, early 2000s, and somebody called this when she was kind of feuding with Jericho and stuff. Someone said they need to have Jericho do his thing and say, hey, because she was coming out to let the bodies hit the floor. And they said they should have him
boobies hit
say,
the
let the boobies. And then he did it like 2 months later, and that person like was like, yes, I was right. And I'm like, yeah, yep, you called it. Is Jericho reading these forums or is someone else? Because that was a great moment.
Just looking
Let
at
the
list.
boobies hit the floor.
That was that. Of all the things in the invasion angle, like the Stephanie versus Jericho like era of the just him just berating her constantly. That was pretty good.
I used to have a clip on here, but it started getting claimed, so I deleted it. But it was like, you're a dirty, disgusting bargain basement. You know, that whole tirade. It was good.
Dirty
Trash bag hoe. Yeah, and there he is with his shirt unbuttoned again.
Yeah, Vince. Yeah, he's probably here in Australia. It's hot. Fucking, it's been oppressively hot here today, but I can imagine Vince. Look, talk about The Rock doesn't even know what a button is.
Right.
When you look how he's dressing.
My $700 shirt.
Looks like a kimono.
There's Bruce Pritchard, Brother Love.
Yeah. Him fucking Jim Cornette tears him to shreds on his podcast.
What does he call him? Like a kiss ass and all that?
Oh, all the time. Like he goes, he just absolutely annihilates him. Like says this guy offered nothing in the writing meetings and stuff. He'd just sit there kissing Vince's ass.
Man, he was great as Brother Love, though. One of the greatest wrestling characters ever.
That was like
Going,
the original Orange Face, wasn't it?
yeah, going after, you know, all those televangelists and stuff.
Well, he was the Undertaker's first manager. wasn't he?
Manager, yeah. Thank you. I
He never did,
love
like Paul Bearer
you.
did.
That was great.
Yeah. There's all
All
this
right.
build up, and because obviously if you've lived through it and watched it, or you know what's going to happen, but all this build up. Because was this before or after that weird empty stadium match that they did, like a Super Bowl halftime or something?
Depends when the Super Bowl was.
Yeah.
It was right. It was like within a week or two.
Yeah. Because I remember that.
I
one
never
was
saw that either.
No, I just heard about it. Really, I saw it like maybe on one of Mick's DVDs, like they did like a match, like a special like clip of it. But everything I saw about that, like apparently Rock was sort of going a bit far overboard in that one as well. Because Mick talks about this a lot in his book, which is like we were talking about before. Both of them, his first two are really awesome, but he talks about how he sort of had mixed feelings after this towards The Rock. Like he sort of thought he maybe went a bit overboard with a lot of the stuff.
Yeah, he says it in the in this too.
Mm.
Bruce's podcast is pretty good. You're talking about something to wrestle with.
Yeah,
And I'm sure he has a lot of stories because
well, that's the thing. Like him and Cornette, they'd have a lot of stories from those days.
Well, when I watch 87, he was actually doing commentating before Brother Love was a thing. Him and Nick Bockwinkel, along with Mike McGurk, who is a girl, daughter of the Alabama Territory owner before it went defunct. So she got a job with Vince, and I think she claimed sexual harassment at one point. So shocker. And there you have a Doc Hendricks, A.K.A. Michael P.S. Hayes. What's sad about that is, to like a lot of the normie wrestling fans, he'll probably be most famous for the face he made after Austin 316 and not for feuds with the Von Erichs.
Or for being at the start of Highlander.
Yeah, you're correct. You're right.
In that wrestling match.
Yep. Yep, I'll never forget that. By the way, don't forget, guys, the Von Erichs movie's coming out in about a week. Looks good. The Iron Claw. All right, so the match is going to start. And they just keep going back and forth, like progressively the family's getting more and more upset, right? And then the cheer shots start happening.
This bit where they do that long shot of Noel standing there looking over the barricade, and they start playing Stand By Me. That's just like, Jesus, fuck, this is brutal. And then you see Triple H and Taker sitting there watching it. Because I guess they're kind of there if anything goes wrong, like they may have to do a run in or something, and like that's why they're watching so intently. But Taker's just like, fuck, Mick's, I thought I killed Mick. This is this is insane.
Yeah, and I think Mick's point is that Rock here's where she takes off with the kids, and
yeah.
I think his point is that Rock didn't really have any regard for the potential damage he was doing. Even though Mick was like, yeah, it was probably the right decision. It's just like maybe after the fact he didn't talk about it enough or something. That's the sense I get from what I've heard him say.
Well, yeah, I think in the book he mentions that, like, apart from what you see here after what happened, like Rock didn't really like when Mick was recovering in hospital and stuff, like Rock didn't visit him, like Rock didn't really, I don't think he reached out to him.
Right.
Yeah, this contributed to a lot. Like, you'd listen to Mick Foley's podcast now, his memory's a little shaky on things. You could contribute a lot of it to this match, I think.
There was Pat Patterson, there's Tony Gurria from New Zealand.
That's who that was.
Auckland.
I thought he was like like Vince's body double or something.
Yeah. I could have met him. I went to a house show. Oh, fuck. I went to an excellent house show in July of 2000 in Kansas City, the arena where Owen Hart died. And he was, at that point, he was like fucking timekeeper. So he was standing down by the ring like 2 hours before the show even started. I could have gone down there and, gotten his autograph, taken a picture and all that. And I just didn't feel like it. But then Bubba comes out, right? That guy's like the biggest dick probably in all of wrestling. You could just tell by the way he carried himself when he came out. I was like an hour and a half before the show, and some couple's like, "Oh, Bubba, take a picture." And he took a picture with the girl, and it was almost like the look on his face was like, "Yeah, get the picture over with." And then he just like walks away. And I've heard a lot of stories about Bubba Dudley. Mark LaMonica. Real dick. And I was disgusted, Blake, by the medical work. That was kind of gross. The stitches.
Yeah. I any sort of medical procedures and stuff, like those medical shows where they do operations and everything, I can't watch. I think, no, not for me.
And then he's got the kids there, like, what in the hell's happening here?
And they got they even say, like, they got the plastic surgeon in specially for this.
Jeez. No wonder.
Yeah, I mean, there is that aspect. Like, Ric Flair, I think, has said, like Tyler says here, that overrated, glorified stuntman. I mean, I know Ric Flair's sort of alluded and said those sort of comments towards Mick in the past, but I think Mick got the entertainment aspect of it as well. Like, his work as the commissioner and a lot of the other stuff he did, I think he had, maybe not the in-ring work of, other people, of his contemporaries that were the same level, like on the card, but I think Mick still had a lot of great matches and a lot of great moments. I mean, the Rock, This Is Your Life, that would not have worked without Mick Foley.
Mm-hmm.
Anything like that. I love this bit here, Vince.
Yeah, I love that exchange.
He's like sitting. Vince is like so out of it as well. He's like sitting there just getting head stitched up, and Mick comes into him. He's like, "Yeah, I think people will. I think that's going to be remembered. Like, we did good work out there. People are going to really remember that." And Vince is just sitting there like counting dollars in his mind. It looks like.
And he's like, "Are you feeling okay?" or something like that.
Yeah. Fuck. He just absolutely got hammered.
He had his brain smashed. Well, the wife was there too, so it's like,
yeah, like,
why are you?
And she
if
tests
she's
him.
So worried.
She goes, she tests him. Like, she goes, "What time's our flight tomorrow?" And then like someone from WWE comes through. She's like, "Are you not on the charter flight?" She goes, I was testing Mick.
Oh,
make sure he knows where the fuck he is.
Yeah.
But yeah, this bit where they replay it back to him, like, you could tell a lot of Mick's career. Like, this is the turning point in Mick's career. And then he has that discussion later with Vince.
If you think about it, he retired really like a year later, because WrestleMania happened. This is the one where they had Rock Stone Cold 2.
Yeah.
Right? I think it was 2. No, it was 1. It was 1. Yes, it was 1. And then into 99 he did the Rock and Sock Connection, right? And then he did the Triple H match at Royal Rumble. Then they did the Hell in a Cell, and he was out. And then he came back at 2000, WrestleMania 2000,
for the four-way match.
Stupid. Yeah, I hated that match.
Well,
one time only.
Out injured, wasn't it? Yeah, that's why Mick came back, because Austin.
Yes.
Did his neck then, and he says he came. He was only supposed to come back for like one appearance or something in January, and ended up staying 6 weeks.
Well, what if he had won? You know what I mean? It's like, does he surrender the title? Like,
yeah.
I mean, so thanks for giving it away that he's not going to win. Then he had the great commissioner run in summer
that was one
and
of
fall.
my favorite parts. Nick.
Oh yeah. And then he
Especially
eventually
Christian stuff, where he just roasts them each week.
Oh yeah, the very beginning, right after WrestleMania, it's like go get us some sodas or whatever. And he's like, all right, and then he said, oh, you're gonna have a match tonight against whoever it was, and he's
Undertaker
like,
and
Mickey's
Kane.
got your soda, Mickey's got your soda. That was
And he'd always
great.
like book him in these hellish matches. It's like, oh no, yeah, tonight you guys have got a real easy match. It's like it's Undertaker and Kane.
And then he came back in 04 for that match with Rock against
The legend,
Evolution.
yeah. That was not a great match. That 2-on-3.
No.
And then there was the alternate back, like the Legend Killer angle. That was more not so great. But I mean, he probably got paid a lot for it,
Oh yeah.
for those sort of like short comeback stints.
Right. Yeah, and then they're kind of recapping everything here.
Yeah.
This is great too, because this shows like how popular Vince was with the boys and stuff. You know, like
Yeah. Well, they're paying him. I mean, he's paying them.
there's the Jerry Lynn and is that Jerry Lynn and RVD?
I think so. Look at that. That's so ridiculous. Vince's body back then. How fucking shiny he was.
Yeah. Give me the baby oil, Linda.
Yeah. How did they even hold? Like, how did anyone hold onto him to do any move in the ring? Like, he would have just been like a.
Look at Hogan. Look at Hogan in the 80s.
Oh yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah, this is so awkward. This shot. The little action figures.
He's kind of recapping at this point.
Yeah.
Man, he has the weirdest shaped body like ever.
That red mask, man. That's. Yeah, Mick. Definitely not your typical wrestler body, but what he did, his career with what he had, like it was massively impressive. And then you get the little message here about Droz at the end as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I said 6 weeks. It was only like 3 weeks after the completion of the film.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in physical and hopes to one day walk again. Right. He had a very sad end. I mean, so a lot of them did, like we're talking about before, Dynamite. Like Dynamite Kid, end of his life was pretty sad too. I think he was confined to a wheelchair for most of it.
Yeah. And very
all from
bitter.
Like one bad bump, pretty much.
Very bitter, but Droz seemed to be happy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I think
he seemed to be happy, but it said that that Jake wound up getting in a bunch of trouble right afterward, and then trying to think of who else they updated on at the end here. Terry Funk continued wrestling. Yeah, of course. Yeah, and I swear he was until like I think 2012.
Yeah, he was going to do like a match with Mick or something, or like another program with Mick towards the end, and that sort of fell apart. But they talk about it in the commentary. He's like, this commentary is probably filmed a few years later because he was talking about his time in WCW. Just like I guess just before it got bought out.
Right. Yeah, and then the credits are interesting too. Like, there's a bunch of acknowledgments, like, "Oh shit, he's thinking who?" And
yeah, well, that's what
there's some interesting ones in there.
Yeah, you see the Ron Howard and Brian Grazer producer credits.
Oh, the Big Texan. Have you ever heard of the Big Texan?
No.
That's where you go, and if you can eat this gigantic steak along with fixins, then you get the meal for free. But like, no normal human could eat this.
Yeah.
So it's in Amarillo, Texas. Famous place. I've driven through there many times because it's right on I-40, which goes all the way across the country when I was driving back and forth from California. And interesting. It's like, big name city, but it wasn't very big. Not a very big town, city, whatever you want to call it. So,
yeah, some of the special thanks and stuff are, names you haven't heard in a long, long time.
I like this. This film is dedicated to my wife, Lori, and our children, Casey and Corey, who have stood by patiently with love and support as I blabbed about wrestling for the last 5 years. Yeah, I do the same thing all the time. Sean Waltman, X-Pac, Mikey Whipwreck, from ECW, Jerry Lawler,
Killer Kowalski.
Yep, Joey Styles. Oh, look, Ide Anawai, one of the Samoans. Mondo Guerrero, cool. Yeah, so that was nice of him to think of almost everyone that might have appeared in the background. And
well, Shane McMahon got like a personal thanks, but he barely appears in this.
Right. Well, he might have.
Yeah, I think
advised
he was like
or something,
or more like he was sort of Vince. This is a good idea. Like, let these people in, sort of have a look, and he might have greased some wheels or like got them to a bit more access behind the scenes than they originally got.
Yeah, that's true.
Because the special thanks to Shane.
All Pro Wrestling, Hayward, California.
Yeah, I've got a.
Oh, I know what it was.
Roland says thank you.
Yeah, the update was Mike and Tony didn't get contracts. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Let's see. Gold's Gym in Nashua, New Hampshire. Arco Arena. The old Arco Arena is where I used to see house shows and stuff in the 80s.
Oh, yeah.
I think there's been like 3 now. Woody Allen, that's kind of weird.
I'm guessing from the name Blaustein, he's Jewish. I think every Jewish filmmaker at some stage wants to thank Woody Allen.
Yeah.
That's just par for the course.
Remember that comment from Offa where he got fired in the 80s because he went to see his child born. So
that's in this, isn't it? Or is that it? Maybe just in the director's cut?
No, it's in this. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's in this. Blaine DeSantis.
Is that Blaine Pardoe and Ron DeSantis joining forces?
Yeah, there you go. Matt Bloom, you know who that is.
The name sounds familiar.
That's Albert.
A-Train.
Yeah. I don't recognize Triple H. Most of these other names here. Todd Gordon. ECW referee guy.
Yeah, I've heard the name.
Man, he thanks a lot of people, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I think this is the one we already saw.
Yeah.
Yep. So, anyway, there weren't a lot of movies, documentaries like this with the backstage access. You had Wrestling with Shadows, you had this, and again, in both cases, Vince tried to put a kibosh on that and say, no, you can't use it. Which makes me wonder on Wrestling with Shadows, and I don't want to go in depth on it tonight because we need to do it sometime, but makes you wonder I still wonder to this day, was any of that staged at all? You know what I mean?
A work.
Yeah, because
there's a lot of theories out there, like to this day, that it was an angle, but and then I agree with what a lot of other people like I agree with what Mick Foley says, and I don't think you can act that bitter for that long. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think Brett would have that much resentment if it was an angle.
Right. And just the reasoning was stupid. Like, I'm not going to lose in Canada. Like, why? I mean,
Well, there's so many people have come up with like better alternatives to this. Like they said, like take Mark Calloway said, like on one of his podcasts, he said, Brett should have just dropped the belt to me, and then he wrestled short. Like it didn't have to be about the belt that match. There was enough there that the belt wasn't, the prize sort of thing. When Brett was there, it was more, I'm better than you, or are you better than me?
well, guys, I see what you're saying in the chat, but I'm thinking even some of the other employees were worked. It might have been Brett and Vince. You know what I mean? Like, and he told Earl, or Dave, whichever one it was,
No,
hey, do this, and he's going to do what he's told. I don't know. It just seems like, hey, guys, let's make my exit interesting. I don't know. It was really weird.
Well, there's that bit on the Wrestling with Shadows after it where like they're in the locker room and Brett goes to Sean, "Did you have a hand in this?" And like, Sean's like, I swear, I had nothing to do with this.
Yeah,
and that's bullshit.
My hands are clean.
Yeah, my hands are clean, brother. But that whole thing, like, for one, Vince never. If Brett's leaving for WCW, that Vince should have taken the belt off him a lot sooner.
Yeah, everyone says that, to be honest. No, we'll get into it though. At some point, we can do that.
I love that. I love that documentary because I grew up a huge Bret Hart fan, and like because I didn't have a lot of access to WCW as well. Well, that sort of when Bret left WWF, he kind of just like Jake the Snake. He sort of just vanished for me, and I couldn't keep watching him. And that was such a great era of wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
And they go into it a little bit in the commentary. It's like Bret was never the same after Owen died. And like they go, I think it's probably that, but I think it's also the fact that Bret wasn't there when Owen died. Like Bret was at a different company. If Bret was with WWF at the time and in the building, maybe, obviously maybe things would have gone differently, but it was the fact that Bret wasn't there that sort of, I think, affected him just as much, or not as just as much, but affected him as well as Owen dying.
Yep. Yeah, we'll have to get into that. I find a lot of it hilarious too. Like just his whole personality is just hilarious. Like he's the textbook definition of somebody who takes themselves way too seriously. That's Bret Hart for me.
Yeah, and
he's a mark for himself.
Well, I don't know if he was a mark.
I like the guy, but he's way.
Well, I think he was
way too seriously.
I think he was not necessarily a mark for the business, but I think he was. Like we've had this discussion before about some actors and how seriously they take the craft. Like someone like Richard Dreyfuss, who's like the acting is everything to him. Like the work more than the everything else that comes with it. I think Bret Hart, the wrestling was everything to him. And when he realized, it wasn't just about the wrestling, like the best wrestler, he was going to get sort of moved out of his position. I think he sort of really took it tough. Because I think, especially because it was Sean and how Sean was behind the scenes. Like Bret was, it wasn't just, you're going to take the belt off me. That's fine, but don't give it to that guy.
Right.
And I think Bret was kind of proven right because Sean burnt out within like 8 months after that and was
he lost his smile. Yeah,
lost his smile after Austin threw him into a turnbuckle.
Right. Anyway, that's the movie, guys. If you haven't seen it, it's eminently rewatchable. I've probably seen it 15 times, maybe more. I don't know. People I show it to that may not even be into wrestling like it. So it's interesting enough for anyone that likes documentaries in general to enjoy it.
Yeah.
So
You don't even
watch
really
it for
have
the
to be
holidays, guys.
Yeah. You don't even really have to be a wrestling fan. Like
Mhm.
it's interesting to find out the behind the scenes workings and I mean the characters in this are interesting enough in themselves that you can find some enjoyment from it, even if you didn't grow up watching wrestling.
I don't know what you mean by that, MJ1 Media. I didn't know we had lost it.
Well, I
But
think just
anyway,
people lost the ability to laugh at Eddie Murphy's stuff. I think more than Eddie Murphy lost his laugh.
yeah. Like I said, watching Beverly Hills the other night, and just great stuff.
You excited for the new one?
Go-tos.
They just released the
What are you talking about?
they just released the teaser photo for the 4th Beverly Hills Cop movie.
No. Hashtag
like-
watch old shit.
Yeah, it's on Netflix. There should be. I'm guessing there'll be a trailer tomorrow for it. Not excited.
Nope.
No, it look like from everything
I
I've
didn't
heard
like
about
3.
it.
I told you I
No
didn't like
interest.
3. So
Yeah, I understand people that don't like 3. It's not anywhere near the grittiness or like the comedic edge of the first 2, but I still enjoy it. And
Fair
Taggart's
enough.
gone. It's disappointing Taggart wasn't in 3.
Yeah.
But I like Hector Elizondo, so that was a decent switch.
dude, just like every scene is not just either, funny or action, but interesting to watch.
Yeah.
Just like the house, like how we need somewhere to live, and it's like, hey, they're doing construction, like. And then I love the badge flash. He could be anything. Hey, building inspector, and
Yeah.
this and
Customs.
that. It's just, yeah.
And this is the worst branch, and I've been to Cleveland.
Yeah. Oh man, that's good stuff. And then, toward the end, it's like Doreen moved back in, and he's like, "Oh yeah," and he's like, "Yeah, her mother didn't have cable." It's like, "No, I think it's Yo Cable that brought her back." Oh man, what a
Eddie
great.
Murphy was like that was Eddie Murphy at peak.
Yep.
Those first 2.
But George Lucas was in 3. What are you talking about, Tyler? Am I blanking out on that?
It's just a cameo.
I got to go back and find that. That's insane. I guess I forgot that. But we've been going 3 hours, and guess what? It's 12:45, 45 minutes after midnight, and I need to wake up in about 5 hours. Not too bad. I went to bed last night about 1, and I woke up inadvertently before 5 because, stress and stuff. You'll wake up like, oh, what do I need to get done at work today and shit like that. So I probably need to go to bed pretty quick here. But yeah, guys, thanks to everyone for being here.
Thank you indeed.
We got 21 likes. Make sure you hit the like if you haven't done so yet. And this is an evergreen stream. Like, you can share this with friends and come back and get some insights if you wind up watching it. But yeah, guys, thanks for being here. No spacing, right? Because I have to go to a Christmas party. I am going to go. I don't have to go. Sorry. In case my wife's watching. And going to be a busy weekend. So we will be back the 22nd. And I think it'll be Filoni Charges Part 3 because those girls are down to do it. So should be good. But Blake, thanks for taking 3 hours out of your day. Your Thursday?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, your Thursday to do this. So
Yeah.
I'll see you next Friday. And chat, we'll see you next Friday. Have a great one.
See you, everyone.